Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome back to another episode of Weeb Seen It Podcast, episode number 25. My name's Cam.
And I'm Jimmy.
And so welcome back for another episode, guys. Thanks for tuning in, like always. Thanks for watching our last video. We kind of just say the same shit every single time we first get in.
Yeah.
Just want to let you guys know that we're very grateful. We're getting close to that 300 subs right now, so
Yeah.
that's the next goal. And one thing that we're also getting really close to is the end of this anime season.
Yeah, we've only got, 3-4 episodes left on everything?
Yeah, I think we looked at the spring list and it says about 29 days for most things. So we're getting about a month away. So about 3 to 4 episodes for most things on this list.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a few of them are going to carry forward into the next season. I think Kumodesu is going forward. And
Kumodesu, something else, I think.
wasn't Mushoku going for a full 24?
I don't remember. I didn't see it on the list earlier, but that could have just been not updated or something.
True.
We can pray anyways. But yeah, with that, obviously we've talked about this before. Starting this season, it's been such a big anime season. That's really when we started getting a little bit more growth and more interaction and stuff like that. So we're hoping that with the next anime season starting, we can do the same thing. Maybe we can bring in some new people from different shows. And obviously, if you're here and you only watch us, to hear us talk about Jujutsu Kaisen or something like that, we're hoping that we find something in the next season to watch that you'll also stick around and watch.
Oh, yeah.
So when we get closer to the date, we're going to be probably doing what we did last time. We're going to do like another vote to kind of pick some of the shows in our lineup. Obviously, some of them we're just going to pick ourselves, like shows we're 100% going to watch.
Shows that are obviously going to be big interest to us or just going to be big draws are definitely going to be on that list. But
but we'll probably have a few open spots to try and, even at the list. So yeah, when we get close to the date, we'll kind of announce a vote in the comments and then people can go in and say which show they want us to watch. And that way, there's a little bit of something for everybody.
Yeah.
I think other than that, no big comments today. We're just going to get into talking about the episodes if you're good to go.
I'm good to go.
Okay, and like every other week, we're going to start off with ReZero, episode number 47 this week.
Happiness reflected on the water's surface.
Okay, once we get into, we're going to talk about this episode obviously very specifically, but I think we talked about this last week, and even someone in the comments mentioned it, that there's a little bit of unhappiness right now with just like, I think the pacing in ReZero.
Yeah, it seems a little bit all over the place, especially in the last few episodes.
Yeah, and I think the consensus from a lot of people that kind of like look at it is obviously they're trying to tell the story that they want, right? Like you can't possibly say that they're like cheaping out and they're cutting stuff.
Oh God,
what
no.
I mean, they're like taking away intros, taking away endings. They're making it a full like 27 to 29 minute episodes. So I think that we have to go with the belief that like even if when we're looking at this as just season 2, maybe we're gonna look back right now and when this finishes and be like, season 2 wasn't that good. But I think that when this show goes on and we're in like a season 4, stuff like that, when it starts like, really hitting big strides in like the story, I think we're going to be very, very happy that we got as much information as we did earlier on, even if at the time it didn't make for the most entertaining season.
True. I mean, even a bad season of ReZero isn't that bad. It's still better than a lot of the stuff we've seen in the past. So.
Yeah, it's definitely, we're not to the point where we're like, oh, I have to watch the ReZero episode this week. Like, oh no. Like, it's definitely still one of the shows that we look forward to watching every single week. It's just, you compare it to some certain arcs and stuff like that in season 1. And I think that even someone mentioned in the comment, one of the reasons season 1 like feels like it had a lot better pacing is just because there was more like shorter stories to tell. Like, Shuber got to go through like 5 or 6 different resetting arcs just because they were all a lot shorter. It was introducing us to a lot of the characters. In this one, we know a lot of these characters and like, they're just, a lot of this is character growth. But by only having this like one reset point in the entire season, it makes it feel really slower, but apparently going forward, a lot of the arcs and stuff like that are just going to be based around one big point. And a lot of season 1 was just like its own separate thing, it was just getting us used to it. But I definitely think the show's still entertaining, and I don't think anyone's really arguing that it like sucks now. But it was something that people are wondering about. But I think that after this all ends, in the future when we've already seen 4 or 5 seasons or how long it goes on, we're not going to look at season 2 like, oh, that was the shitty season. We're going to be like, oh, like season 2 a little slower, but like if you were able to binge watch in the future all the seasons, you'd be probably still happy with that. Being like, hey, look at all the information I learned about Amelia in this. Like, I got introductions to like Garfield and Otto, who maybe they're big in the future. Like, we got all this kind of cool world building stuff. It just feels like when you're watching it like week to week basis, it probably feels a little slow.
Yeah, we're not getting the major progress we got in the first season. Because even just breaking through to the next reset point is always a huge deal in ReZero, and we aren't getting that here, so nothing feels permanent.
Yeah, it also, we mentioned a few times too, it also seems like, I don't know. Normally, there's always this thing that, like, it could reset any time. Everything could be going well, but then Subaru could just get fucking hit in the back of the head and dead, and he, like, resets. But right now, there's also this feeling that we feel like he can't possibly reset because we've been shown too much, right? Like, he's too far right now to reset. So that also maybe takes away some of, like, the anticipation or, like, the anxiety we have about, like, when this is all going to go wrong. Because we just feel as viewers that it just can't because, it would really fuck up everything we've learned. But I mean, they could just throw us for a loop and just anyways do force another reset.
That is possible, but that would be throwing away all the development we've gotten through Amelia, all the development through Garfield and Otto. And I don't think they're going to make us sit through that again.
Obviously, it seems like from a viewer, you got to look at this like, okay, like how could they possibly do this? You know, like if they could try to just do it, time skip it, and say like, hey, Subaru did everything the exact same, it all worked out. But the likelihood of that would be really, really low.
Yeah, chaos theory in and of itself means that would not work.
And then if they just like reset and Subaru finds like somehow an even quicker, different way to solve it, then it wouldn't make any sense, right? Like,
yeah, like he just walks up, just says the exact same spiel to Amelia just right away, and just like, now
like,
go do the damn trials.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, we'll get into this actual episode. I'm just kind of curious as to what people think about ReZero if you're watching it, what you think about the pacing, if you think that, in the future you're going to look back on season 2 as being a positive or a negative thing. And then, if you think that this season 2 maybe being more, I don't know, like negatively viewed than season 1 is going to have an effect on upcoming seasons maybe. Just let us know down below. But getting to this episode specifically, I'm trying to remember a lot of the times with ReZero for me, I have a hard time remembering where the last episode ended and where the next one picked up, because a lot of it's just like character drama, discussion, stuff like that.
A lot of it's like almost a direct cut.
It's also the earliest show in the week we watch.
Sure.
That's why we're talking about it first. So it's the farthest one, from the date we're recording this. So it makes it hardest to remember for sure.
It is. So the last episode cut off with Garfield telling Frederica to go away, and then this one picks
and
up
right
on the
before
fight.
that it was Ram and Roswell interacting, and then the puck and that kind of stuff. Yeah, this one starts off with their fight. It doesn't seem like too intense. They're both kind of having a good time. They obviously both haven't went all out yet. Garfield didn't go into big cat mode.
Yeah.
She didn't go insane, but there's a couple cool parts like where she goes to like slice him and thinks she has him, and then it's just like he just catches the blade in his teeth.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh fuck, that just seems dangerous for no reason, dude.
I mean, I don't think he could have dodged it. So
we did get a couple of answers that we wondered last week. Like we wondered where the I can never remember her name, the other little girl, the other assassin.
Oh god, what's her name? Miwa.
We wondered last week like if she would come in, because in the original time it wasn't until after they left the mansion that she was like so we thought maybe it would work out the same way, but this time she came in earlier, whether that's from maybe she saw stuff was going wrong, I don't really know. Realistically, you think that she still would introduce herself till around the same time in the first one, since they had a very large fight in the mansion in the first time that we were introduced.
Yeah, I mean, it could have just been that she saw some unknown elements had been brought in, so she was.
Maybe because even in the first time that she didn't bring any of her mad beasts into the mansion, right? Like, but this time she did, and of course that's now the big detriment, is because they had everything else planned except for this. And I'm like, well, it doesn't really make sense that she would be here this time and not last time, but that's just time travel-y shit in general, right? Like, I guess something subtle could have changed that we just don't know about. But yeah, she comes in. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of Garfield fighting with the Bowel Hunter. Frederica bails to go get Petra and Rem out of there. They run into Subaru. The hell else happens? Then it just turns.
He talks to Beatrice, who throws him out of the room, and he doesn't get back in to talk to her.
Yeah, he kind of pisses her off. I guess that he can't. When I was watching, I was like, why doesn't he just go and be like, "Hey, I'm the guy, by the way." Just at least for now to get her out of the room and make her go, and then later be like, "Listen, though, there isn't really a guy, like this is."
I know, but
you gotta make your own decisions.
There's enough of a fallout from that. I think Subaru was trying to avoid it.
I guess, but it seems like he could really just use solving this current issue and kind of push that one on the back burner.
But this is Subaru. I think he's trying to go for the all-in-one resolution. So
yeah, so he gives Beatrice a little piece of his mind, says like, "Hey, you got to start thinking for yourself," all this kind of shit. I really wish he just would have been like, "By the way, your mom's a bitch." Because now like he knows that like he's heard about the relationship between like Beatrice and Echidna being like a mother figure, and he's met Echidna multiple times, kind of a bitch. I wish that he just would have been like, "Hey, I've met your mom, by the way. She ain't that good. Like, stop listening to her." But yeah, he gets kicked out of her little room, can't find it again. So I guess she's doing a better job at hiding her little library thing. I think they do mention what we talked about last week about why. She says at one point that she's like, "Oh, I'm safe in here anyways because of this," and he's like, "Oh, you're not safe if they open all the doors." Or something like that, which is what happened like the first time. I think we talked about that briefly last week too.
I think we did, yeah. So obviously these people know how to deal with this issue, unless.
And then right by saying that, Beatrice realized she's like, so like Roswell told them, and he's like, yeah. So it makes sense now, because we were wondering that because last week we discussed if like Petra was like going through opening all the doors and that's what fucked her. So it seems like it wasn't. It seems like these guys just specifically know how to kind of screw over her cool little hidden library trick.
Yeah, door crossing, I think it's called.
Yeah, so at least then Beatrice knows it's Roswell, which I don't understand. She's just like, oh, it must say that like I died in his book, so he must just be doing this or like that. So
yeah,
Once again, just proving that you got to stop fucking listening to the shitty book.
I mean, her book doesn't even say anything.
It's not even an audiobook. Why even bother?
Oh god, not this again.
One day we'd have an Audible sponsorship and it would be right there. It'd fit right in. God damn it. Oh, but yeah, he gets kicked out of the room. Hasn't been able to convince her yet. She just says like, "Hey, if you're that guy, I'm willing to come with you." And he's like, "No, I'm not that guy, you stupid idiot."
Too much commitment. Nope. Sorry.
Yeah, and then he just gets kicked out. So we don't know how that's going to resolve yet. He meets back up with Frederica and them, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to go." Where do they decide they're going to take it? Like
they're
secret,
going to Roswell's room because apparently it has a secret exit.
like back exit or something like that. Yeah, but of course on the way there they run into a couple ma beasts and of course the little girl who controls them.
Yep. She's riding her. I believe she called it a rock piggy. Looked like a hippo to me. But
oh yeah, it did look like a hippo. That's right. Yeah. I don't know. Like I do like your theory from last week that we're gonna get like an Otto and her fight, one using animals and one using mabbies. But I can't imagine that going well.
Yeah, again, I was kind of thinking she had just like a bunch of small mobbies.
little like bird thing, and he has like a bird, just like a huge fucking hippo turtle thing, and he's got like a squirrel. Like, go squirrel!
I mean, we might have something bigger nearby. We don't know.
Maybe he like evolves his power, and he can start controlling mabbies too.
I think that would have a lot of implications.
Who knows? I don't know. Obviously, the fight between Garfield and the Bow Hunter wasn't really like a big anime fight. It wasn't like that was the point of this episode, like a Jujutsu Kaisen level fight or anything like that. It was kind of just like the little sub thing going on, just keeping the Bow Hunter busy while Subaru could both interact with Beatrice and then also try to escape.
Yeah, I mean, ReZero isn't really known for its fight scenes, so...
No, I guess not. I was like trying to think of a fight that was really good. I was like, maybe like some of the stuff with like Rem early on was like decent, but I mean, yeah, it's definitely not like animation crazy cool fights.
Oh yeah, I mean even then that was really more them trying to just make Rem shine so they could sell the waifu merchandise. So.
Yeah, I think if anything, like, the best fight probably would have been more like the fight with the white whale, which is more like a just like tactical standpoint, like all the different like layers of intense the fight got to, kept escalating, which wasn't really about animation in the fight. It was just kind of about like properly kind of setting shit up. But yeah, I mean, we also get Amelia in this one too. Amelia talks to Roswell in this one, right? Or was that last week?
They showed small flashback towards the end of the conversation, then they cut to Amelia doing the second trial.
Yeah. Yes, Amelia's second trial. That's also a big point of the episode.
Did you forget that?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I did. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Okay, so we talked about this before, but the difference between Amelia and Subaru's trial is just like, it seems unfair in some ways.
I mean, this was meant to kind of entice her into staying.
Yeah, her second trial is more like Subaru's first trial.
Yeah.
100%. Tell me, because in that, Subaru was in his own body, dealing with people that were there, almost like they were trying to, I mean, in that one, they were deliberately like pushing him more to go. But like in some sense, you can almost argue like these, like Fortuna and Juiciness were kind of like pushing her too in a sense. They're not like, hey, stay here with us forever. It's just the more like she wants to stay there because she really likes it. But her second trial reminded me way more of Subaru's first.
I mean, it's also a difference in how their characters are laid out, right? Subaru had that small pining to go back to his old life, and then his present was like all the possible presents he's left behind. Mm-hmm. Amelia, it's more about the trauma in her past and like the future she could, or the present she could have had.
Yeah, but even, I mean, she did not even seem the same age in this current present. Did she not seem younger?
I think she was it felt like she was trying to play off like the having grown up in the innocent environment.
Yeah,
so.
Maybe she just becomes more of an innocent girl. She's what, 18, I think? No, is she? I feel like because at some point I think Subaru is either 16 or 18, and he I think says that she's older than him in like season 1.
I mean, technically speaking, he might have said that just because she's over 100 years old because she was frozen in ice.
Well, I don't know if Subaru knew that at the time.
Yeah, but no one's. She could have just said like, "Oh yeah, I'm 120 years old," and just not filled in the part where she was frozen.
It's true. I feel like there's obviously some very big hints at the end of this, right? Where Echidna pops up and she's talking to Echidna, and she's like, once again, she's just kind of being new positive Amelia, looking at things on the bright side and stuff like that. And then like Echidna's just like real sad, like crying a little bit, like I hate you, and then like it just kind of ends. I'm like,
yeah. Like she specifically said, "What was it? You disgust me?" Or
yeah, definitely said that you disgust me. And she's like, "I hate you." She's like, "I really do hate you." And I was like, what is going on here with Echidna?
Like that seemed like really aggressive for the situation they were in. She was like waving to her.
Yeah, but she wasn't even like mad while she's doing it too. She was like sad. So I get confused as to what the dynamic here is between them.
Yeah.
Obviously, Echidna in like the first trial, Echidna looked more like typical hate. She's like, oh, I don't like this girl kind of thing. But in this one, she's like, you really do disgust me kind of thing. But she's obviously much more sad. So there's something, once again, that we're not getting, which probably goes back to the whole Amelia, key, seal, door, all this kind of shit.
There's an element we don't know here. So
yeah. Now, do you think that stuff's going to be resolved in season 2 or even mentioned, or is it just going to be the mansion and the sanctuary?
I mean, we've got like what 3-4 episodes left at most.
We've got an Amelia third trial, right?
Yeah.
She just went back in, I believe, in this one to the third trial. We haven't seen what it is yet, but
yeah, it ends with her saying, "Now you have to face your possible future."
yeah, which obviously we knew anyways.
Oh yeah.
What do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's going to be the royal selection, or do you think it's going to be, Subaru in the future? Oh, future Subaru would be kind of dope to see.
He's just gonna look like his father.
I hope it's not like future in like a week, like I hope it's not like a year. So like I hope they could play like a 5 to 10 year future just for fun.
Yeah,
it's a cool way of showing like everyone's favorite thing, which is like future like character time skip arc or art without actually having to do it. Which would be kind of cool.
Just like, hey, this is the not in canon kid of Subaru and Amelia. Have fun.
It's either got to have something to do with whatever her story is with the door and the seal, and what like her destiny is kind of thing, or it'll have something to do with the royal selection, right?
It's gonna be something where she screws up and everyone's dead. It's gonna be a future where Subaru's gone, Roswell's gone, and she's just on her own again.
Maybe she's just like in like a fucking ice palace, like Elsa from Frozen, like just like decided to give up on everyone and
everything's gone. Just
froze the world at some point, and
it's possible.
It's not impossible. I mean, I remember the implication, what you kind of thought in season 1 when there was that the outcome where Subaru went back and there was the big Puck and everything was frozen and Subaru died. At the time you probably thought that Puck was the one who did it all, but now looking back to the past Amelia and freezing the whole place and all the people, now you're like, was Puck the one who did it? So I don't know. I'd be curious. Obviously I hope we get that next episode. I don't know if they're going to do mostly mansion stuff next episode and then flashback. We also need to see the end of the Ram, Puck, and Roswell fight.
Yeah, they showed us a brief glimpse of it in this episode,
which was like just like freeze images, like they weren't even showing us like an action-packed fight.
Yeah,
they just showed us some stills real fast.
I mean, there was some motion to the fights, but they were very low res type deals. So
yeah, so we need to see a little bit more of that. We need to see Amelia's third trial, which is a big deal, and then we got to see how Subaru is going to escape and kind of get out of the situation, because even if he does escape, then that just means he's leaving Garfield now to deal with 2 people. If the girl with the Mappies doesn't like try to follow them, which I assume she probably would. But let's say like their plan worked, they escaped and they didn't, then they're just leaving Garfield to probably get fucked. Like,
I mean, even let's say they all get away. Let's say Garfield retreats and they join up and they get out. That just means the village is fucked because there's still people there, right?
Yeah, I don't really understand like the play here. Because then, the girls could definitely just go to the village and like threaten to kill them all if the Subaru and them didn't come back. And like, there's so many different outcomes here. And like Roswell would know this, even if they did happen to escape. The girls would know this because one of them has been like undercover. We're not 100% sure as to her timeline here, if she's always been bad.
Yeah, or she was possessed
in that village, or if she's possessed, or what the situation is. But yeah, like she would either way know that like they'd want to protect the villagers who remain there. So.
Yeah.
Because there are some villagers still there. I'm just going to say half and half. Like half are there, still half are in the sanctuary situation.
I think it's a pretty even split, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There's got to be another part to this plan, right? Subaru won't be that dumb. He's got to have a backup on backup. Like,
I mean, I'd hope so.
Since I feel like even he, like us, he probably believes this is the prime timeline. He probably has to have a lot of plans.
Yeah, he's kind of like, he even bet Roswell. Like, he's putting everything on the line in this one. So
yeah, which means that he has to have hopefully thought of everything, because if he just like escapes and he's like, we did it, and then they get like a carrier pigeon comes to them and like, hey, if you don't come back now, I'm gonna kill all the little children here. And he's like, fuck, man, they got us. Like, I don't know. We'll have to probably wait to see next episode. There's a lot of stuff to get resolved, and we have decently little time to do it.
Yeah, I think the next episode's still gonna be focusing mostly on the mansion and the trial, just the way they hooked it at the end. But
I mean, that's fine. I think that the Roswell resolution with like Ram and stuff, I feel like it's going to probably happen around the same time as the resolution to like the mansion stuff as like a cutaway thing. So I don't think they're just going to solve that next episode. Now this episode did have an outro.
It did.
Yeah. So I was it went to it at one point. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, why is it stopping and playing a different song to show me credits? I was like, this is strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was kind of shocked with this, like, little time left in the season to show us everything. I was like, they're going to use all the time that they have. But, I guess every now and then you got to play an outro.
I mean, yeah, they've been...
Got to pay the bills.
For the last few episodes, I think they've been playing one or the other, so...
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, they didn't have an intro in this one, did they?
No.
Yeah. Either way, obviously excited for next week. We kind of had our discussion early on in this about, like, what we thought about the season so far and, like, a timing sense. I definitely still think that obviously you can always bring up a season just by having it finish really strong.
True.
So obviously I'm hoping that it finishes strong. I don't want any anime to really do poorly. And yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't expect any more like resets or, different arcs to be covered in this season.
I'm probably not. I mean, I think the biggest worry is that they're going to leave things like unfinished.
I think that what should the really the best outcome would be they solve it either on the second last episode of the season or at the beginning of the last episode.
Yeah.
Then they have a little bit for the relaxing time, like the cool down post, and then obviously they finish with a cliffhanger. Like that's the typical stuff, right? Like that would be the way it goes. Because everybody, I don't know, there's something always so satisfying about seeing the aftermath of a big arc, like the relaxation part. But then obviously you have to end it with the cliffhanger, to keep people wanting more. Baited. Which is kind of funny because the original ReZero didn't really end with a cliffhanger, like a good cliffhanger.
It just kind of ended.
But then when they came out with the what do they call them, where they were like the complete ones or like that, that one originally had then it had the scene of Subaru being like, oh, but I can't wait to like show this to Rem or whatever like that, and then Emilia's like, who's Rem? That That wasn't even in the original show.
No,
that wasn't until they came out with the what was it, director's cut, or I think it was the director's cut. Yeah. So hopefully season 2 just decides maybe to end a little stronger than the original one, and we don't need a director's cut of that.
It's probably going to end with the Hook dealing with the mobbyists. Either the rabbits are still going to show up, or we're going to get the serpent.
Yeah, or it could have something to do just with the maybe more witch stuff.
True.
Something to do with Emilia. And like the whole situation, with the seal, all that kind of shit. I don't know. So I'm gonna have to wait to see. So yeah, if you have any thoughts or opinions about ReZero, just let us know down below. We got another like 3 weeks or so to keep covering it. So now's a good time to get in any comments or theories before they all start to actually happen.
True.
Okay. Next up on the list, Promised Neverland, episode number 8. I'm assuming there's no title.
No.
So obviously in the past couple of weeks we've gotten to a few discussions about Promised Neverland. The outlook people have had as to this season, the big change from the manga was kind of a big deal, skipping some people's favorite arcs, their favorite characters, all that kind of stuff. We've even mentioned in the last couple of weeks that we've definitely lost a little bit of interest in it.
Yeah, I was honestly prepared this week to come in and say like, hey, you want to talk about reincarnated as a slime instead?
Listen, that change might still happen because reincarnated as a slime we have continuing on until next season.
We do, yeah.
Promised Neverland. I was actually talking with my wife yesterday when we walked because I was like the only thing about it is like, we only have a few episodes left. It just seems like too early to give up. Like
that idea of like we've got 3 episodes left, screw it.
And obviously since if it was going on for like something like a King's Raid, like if it was gonna go on for like 25 episodes with its current level, I would be like, even if I do manage to watch it weekly, I probably would stop talking about it on here because then I wouldn't have the need to have to watch it every single week. At least I could just like let a few episodes build up and watch it.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like the same thing as like we talked about in ReZero in a sense. Like maybe looking back, people won't think season 2 is as bad. But I just feel right now like the waiting each week and the episodes I'm getting as like the reward haven't really felt very rewarding.
Yeah.
Which is one thing. It's like I think someone in the comments even discussed this when we were talking about like Log Horizon last week. It's like Log Horizon is really, really good, but it doesn't seem to work as well in like a waiting weekly for the episodes.
Yeah, it's a type of show you binge.
Yeah, because then like when you have those episodes that are just all characters discussing stuff, which happens a lot in Log Horizons, it's very political. You're just like, I waited a whole week to see these like bros sit down at a table and discuss something. When you're binging it, it's like, yeah, you might have that, but the next episode there's a big cool raid fight or something, and like you already forgot about how like the last episode was kind of slow. But when you've waited a whole week for it, you're like, I fucking 7 days for this. Like,
yeah, they don't do a good job weaving the waiting and the payoff together.
Yeah, so that's kind of been. I'm thinking that maybe retroactively people can look back at season 2 of Promised Neverland if they finish it well. I think that it wasn't as bad as they thought while watching it weekly. I did think this episode was a little bit better than the past few.
It definitely dialed it up, but it feels like they're kind of cashing in the climax to do that.
Yeah, because that would have been like our guess probably for like the end of the show, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know how they would have drawn it out that long. They spend this whole episode maybe looking for Sanju and Mujika or whatever the hell their names are, and then maybe the next episode they bring them back and there's some drama, and it feels like it would have been hard for them to drag the current line on long enough to really finish with the whole destroying the demon town with their cool potions. But yeah, if anything, with what information we had, that would have been the guess. Now, I don't mind them doing this early because maybe it means we get something better towards the end. Maybe we finally bring back Isabella for like some different conflict. I don't 100% know. But in general, it wasn't a bad episode. It started with we get to learn more about Norman.
Yeah.
But now, by seeing this episode, I questioned something I said last week, which I said last week that, obviously maybe he was actually experimented on.
I think he was.
I don't know if I think this might genuinely just be it's possible it's just from Norman. Like they've mentioned multiple times that he was a sickly child. He might just have something wrong with him.
I don't know, because they show him having a pile of meds next to his meal that are the same as the ones they take whenever they have the seizures.
It's true. I mean, they just look like generic pills, though. For all we know, that could just be, something to help him focus more. Maybe he's just taking some Adderall, help him get really good scores on the test or something. But I don't know. They didn't like. I thought that when they showed a flashback, we'd see like Norman undergoing a lot of harder things. But in this, it was really just he's doing a lot of tests, which I still have questions as to what the fuck. How do you answer those? The stupid scanny code thing. How does it work?
I think it's like, this is the question, these are the answers. Like, scan the correct answer.
Okay, I'm always confused because that's like back to episode number 1, and I remember seeing that. And then at one point, he like goes to pick it up with his left hand. It's on his right, and I'm like, are they just trolling you? Like, is this some sort of bonus test? Like,
I think they were just screwing with him to see if they could get him to make a wrong answer. Like,
maybe, but yeah, obviously he goes through some tests in this. They mentioned that he's like the first actual genius that they've seen from the farm, like the farms in general. Like he stated as if like that. I find that kind of weird. Because at this point, it's almost like we've always led to believe that, like, at this point, Ray, Norman, and Emma were all kind of geniuses in their own sense.
Yeah.
But, like, then they state that Norman's not only, like, the only genius among them, but he states from the farms. Like, not even just from, like, this farm
since
or that
the farm's
farm.
Establishment.
Yeah, which I find weird. I think
like,
they would have...
I'd be kind of pissed if I was Roy. It's like, what the hell?
I mean, like, the thing is that they really, I guess... How do they know? Like, there could be lots of geniuses just in different ways, right? I think maybe they just mean he's, like, a... intellect genius, like filling tests, because I mean
a genius by their parameters.
Yeah, because there could have been a fucking soccer star in their midst and they wouldn't know because they ate them when they were 11. Who knows?
Yeah. They could have had the next Mozart. And
yeah, I mean, I guess we've seen that kid play some good piano. Maybe he's a piano genius.
True.
Maybe they should have brought him for tests. But yeah, all of his tests that they show seem to be pretty tame, right? Like they're just, he has like the really big Rubik's Cube that he uses to have messages with the other people. He's just answering a lot of questions. They don't actually show him doing any hard tests or anything like crazy.
Yeah, like we don't know what the contents of the tests are. And I do want to comment on the Rubik's Cube.
Mm-hmm.
When they were passing the messages back and forth, it was just a completed Rubik's Cube. They kept passing back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't given any context. Like, were they not allowed to talk there? You'd think there'd be cameras on them that they see them picking up the notes anyways and reading it. I'm like, I don't really get this. Like, everything else we've seen from this place, they've all been on cameras the entire time.
Yeah, like there's even a scene where like he throws his fork. So a fork gets dropped into the room for him. It's like, really?
Yeah, I don't. They really hide how exactly Norman did this. It goes into like an inner monologue, being like, I could make an explosive. I just need some stuff. And then the next scene is just like, boom. Like
he just looks at the camera and suddenly a bunch of stuff blows up. It's like, oh, okay.
They kind of graze by it real fast because, like, I don't know. In the first season, you see how difficult it is just for them to do like some of the smallest thing. Like Ray spends years getting like piece by piece to make something that'll deactivate the trackers, right? Like a little bit of time. But Norman somehow, in what it seems to be a pretty short amount of time, like it has to be a few months or less.
Yeah.
What seems like a short amount of time, he manages to get enough stuff to, make an explosive. Now this place obviously has more things. It's like a lab. Yeah. So more options and stuff like that.
There would be chemicals.
But the security also seems a lot tighter.
I mean, in theory, yeah.
So I don't know. They glaze over it because like, they're like, hey, how would we, like, we can't show exactly what the whole plan is because it just wouldn't make any sense. It'd be too hard to do. So let's just kind of glaze over it. They show him rescuing some of the characters we've seen so far. They still don't show the face of the one guy because I'm assuming he's a fucking psycho. The one who I think is going to be like the strongest of them.
Like Zoe, I think his name is.
With the creepy paper bag. Yeah. But, he rescues them and they're like, oh, are you God? Well, he's like helping them up, which, makes sense as to why they follow him so much now.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the episode from there takes place with Ray, Emma, Dawn, and what the fuck's the other girl's name?
It's Gilda?
Yes, and Gilda.
I was going to say Glinda, but I know that's not right.
Glinda the Good Witch. Trying to find Sanju and Mujika. Obviously, if they can find them within 5 days, bring him back, Norman has to put a hold on his plan. Yeah, so they're like, oh, let's do it.
I have to ask, did they actually believe or he was going to hold off?
Okay, here's the thing. I can 100% believe that Emma thought that because Emma's a dumbass, right? We've established this.
But, like, did Ray really just... It's like, there's no way Norman's going to...
Yeah, why didn't Ray look at this like, hey, what are the odds that, like, he's accepting this plan because it gets rid of us for multiple days? Like, yeah. I feel like anybody could have seen that coming. As soon as they saw it, they're like, oh, Norman fucked us, but because now we're too far to do anything. It's like, yeah, why would you not have thought that was even a possibility? I could see it for Emma. She's like, no, Norman's our friend. First of all, it's been at least probably like a year and a few months. And with, going through, you're already a child and children grow up fast, especially in different circumstances.
Yeah.
So like, you don't really know Norman very much anymore at all.
Like, it was established she barely knew him to start with all the stuff he did on his own.
Yeah, it's true. And if anything, she knows by all the stuff he did on his own last time that he thinks that his way is the only way.
Yeah.
So really, they should know that he has the personality that is willing to, kind of just fuck them over to do his own way.
Yeah, like as he says, like I'm willing to become a god or a devil. It's like, okay, he's got a lot of stock in himself. So
hey, listen, the farms have never seen a genius before, man.
Apparently,
he's the first one. But yeah, they find Sanju and Mujika. That's all good. But then, yes, as we discussed, Norman goes through with the plan. So then the rest of the episode is mainly just seeing all these like little demon kids being like, "No, mom," and all the demons are slowly degenerating. They're eating the other demons.
Yeah, they were really milking that.
Yeah, they really wanted us to make us feel sad, but we already made our stance last week on this that we don't really give a fuck.
Yeah, I know they're trying to make Emma out to be right because she's the protagonist and she has to be right.
100%. And we discussed this last week. We don't necessarily agree with Emma. She doesn't have a better backup plan. Even the whole plan of finding Sanju and Mujika, it didn't actually have like an outcome that solves any of their issues.
Yeah, no.
We don't know enough about Mujika. We don't know if she can't just turn every single demon into a smart one, even if she does. Most of the main demon villains are probably people who already have this blood. Obviously, it gives them the higher intelligence and stuff like that. So
yeah, so there's no way you can just say like, oh, all the demons don't need to eat humans anymore, so we're all good, right?
Yeah. As we mentioned last week, that would be the same as none of us humans really need to eat meat. But we still do. So
yeah.
But yeah, so we're just shown to a lot of sad demon stuff about them all dying and being killed. Obviously, Norman sees it going around him, and he's like a little bit upset. But he's like, "No, I gotta like steel myself." He's like, "I decided this."
He has his little edgelord moment where he puts the hood up and starts walking into town to see what he's done. Just like
and then we get to see a little demon girl named Emma because of course.
The moment I saw that, it's like, did they actually just Batman v Superman this?
That's what I thought too. And she goes to protect her grandpa, and her grandpa is the guy we've seen a few times. He's the one who goes to the church, brings stuff. Seems like a nice old demon man, a little blind, but all good. And then, as Norman goes to, as Norma, I was thinking of Martha from Batman vs Superman, as Norman goes to, kill the one. He hears that the other demon girl's name is Emma. Kind of makes him sad for a second. He stabs his knife into the old man, and then finds out that he's not degenerating from the potion and stuff like that. He gives his blood to the little girl. Norman's kind of panicking a little bit at this point.
Yeah, because he just realized there are more evil-blooded people around.
I think he's also like looking at like the bloods on his hands from like the stab and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, there's that too, definitely.
Panicking a little bit. The whole like reminder of Emma, being the little demon girl and shit, and seeing how sad and like all that stuff going around him. Starts to panic a little bit, but he seems like he's gonna at least commit and just get it done. He's like, no, I just gotta do it. And as he's gonna go kill the old man, that's where real Emma shows up. Human Emma and Ray.
Yeah, like they were not very far away if they covered that ground that quick.
To be fair, they had a cool horse.
I know, but it's still a horse. It doesn't go that fast.
Whoa, I'm pretty sure it's a 6-legged horse, I think. I don't actually remember.
I feel like that would just make it more clumsy.
I don't actually know if that's true that it's a 6-legged horse. I'm just thinking of like Odin and like, I don't know. Maybe it is, but they get there fast, and that's kind of where the episode ends off. We're going to get a confrontation between them.
Yeah.
We haven't actually seen what Norman's little band of humans are doing. We're assuming just going through and like bonus killing the demons they find.
Yeah, because it was weird because they show some demons degenerating and some not.
Yeah, which I assume just means that there are far more evil-blooded demons than they expected.
Yeah, or it could just be it's not 100% effective and it only triggers on like 30 to 60% of demons.
Yeah, I guess the nice part is for like the Norman's plan, it's like, let's say even if like 20% of a demon population is like the evil-blooded kind, they don't degenerate. The rest will turn to demons and then eat them. So
in theory, yeah.
In theory, you'd still get a large percentage, and then whoever the survivors are, no big deal. You got your cool baghead guy to go take them out. I did like the whole scene where they're like all on the pillars and then they'd like all hop off and stuff. Yeah, except for then we see nothing from them, so we're like, we don't actually know what they're doing.
I know. I feel like that was them trying to make up because I remember I saw just a scene like there was their original introduction. It's like, wow, that's a really cool introduction. They got screwed.
Yeah. Either way, it was a good episode. We're gonna get into the next episode. We're gonna see the confrontation between. They're obviously gonna be a little bit mad at Norman because he didn't follow through.
Yeah,
I think even in this episode they realized early on that something's like wrong with Norman, that like there's something he's keeping from them.
Oh yeah, they specifically say like there's something he isn't telling us.
Yeah, which is obviously Norman is dying, or at least from his point of view, he's dying. So he wants to get this shit done fast. He doesn't have time to wait stupid amounts of time for Anima to come up with new dumbass plans.
Yeah, especially considering her plans have never actually worked in theory.
Yeah. Now, one other thing that we've mentioned before right now is that this season's missing a villain, right? Now, we get a possible villain in this episode. I don't remember what his name's Peter. I don't remember his last name. It was something stupid.
Yeah, I want to say either Gray Rat or Grill, and I know that both
I was
those are
also
wrong.
thinking it was close to that, but we know it's not Gray Rat. But either way, he's the guy who is like leading up the what's it called, Lambada, or whatever the hell it is, Lambda. And when he first gets introduced, he's the guy that Norman immediately met after season one. I also did like they showed Isabella's face when she was hugging Norman. She also looked she had like a look on her face. Not 100% sure what it was. When she's like
a weird like mix of relief and anger, and
I don't know. Yeah, it could have been like sadness. I don't really know 100%. But she had like a weird look on her face. They literally just showed her face while she was hugging Norman, and then they swapped the other side and showed Norman's face. But yeah, he first starts off, being like, hey, I'm this guy. I'm excited for you to come here and test that kind of stuff. Yeah. But obviously, as the episode goes on, at one point they show him, and he's like, doing all evil. Like crazy evil face and shit. And
yeah, he says something like, no longer will he be known as Peter the Gatekeeper or something like that. It's like,
yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be. I don't remember what he says. He says something. It's something with the farms. He's like,
he said he'd be in charge of the farms, I think.
Yeah, so he obviously has big plans with all of his cool experiments and that kind of stuff. Could come in more to be evil villain in season one. Yeah. They could bring Isabella
the dude specifically
back.
said his goal was to take away all the hope from the kid in the farms.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's not
nothing
even
makes
trying.
you a villain like wanting to crush children's hopes and dreams.
Yeah,
so.
He's not even trying to be a good guy at this point. He's just like, nope, I'm evil. I'm gonna lean right into it.
Yeah, there also is like a good chance that they just consider the villain of season 2 going to be like Norman and his crew. But we won't really 100% know that probably till the next episode when they kind of resolve or don't resolve this whole current issue going on.
Yeah. Now, do you think Norman's crew is gonna clash with Sanju?
I hope so. I think so because I want to see Paper Baghead fight someone. And I think that the easiest way to show us like he is way too good for a human would be to make him fight Sanju.
That would be the logical answer, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously Norman and their crew, not a big fan of demons, especially Crazy Girl.
Yeah.
But yeah,
to be fair, they did kind of give us more of a reason for them to hate them in this episode. So.
Yeah, they kind of just showed us some side background stuff going on inside the labs, and not 100% sure what these experiments were. One of the rooms was just demons eating people.
Yeah, like it was weird because there was like a hallway with like 2 glass sides, and one was like a bunch of people and like stuffed animals and toys, and the other one was people being eaten.
Yeah, we don't 100% understand all the experiments going on, which is once again why I mentioned early on. Like I'm a little bit confused as to the Norman situation. Like once again, they could be like giving him drugs there that'll help him, like test better, like and like that stuff could have a negative side effect on health, and that could be making him worse.
Yeah,
we don't see him undergo any like. We don't see them like shoving him with needles and giving him like drugs or anything like that, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, like we see a lot of needles kicking around. We don't actually see anything get injected.
But I was just thinking, since like obviously they've mentioned it multiple times that like Norman spent a lot of time as a kid being sick, and there wasn't like a reason for it. Norman just seems like he is like a sickly person. Like it's very possible. He has very, very white hair too. I don't know. That could be a sign of some sickness.
That's what you're going for.
I don't know. He's a pale kid.
Are you going with albinoism for this?
Maybe. I don't know. He's just like he could. For all we know, fucking Norman has cancer. Like who can say? I'm sure some of those kids in the farm have to. Like it could just be an actual illness from himself, and he's just realized he's not going to go to an old age. Maybe some of the drugs he's taking, he stole from their thing to try and slow it down. Not 100% sure. Don't know if they'll tell us in the story either, but...
You never know, yeah.
Either way, we'll see more for next week. It definitely wasn't the worst episode. I think that hopefully it's going to be going in the right direction now as we get this confrontation next week. But I'm curious as to this confrontation next week, where the show's going to go for the last, 3 or 4 episodes. Because,
they're going to finish this, and they're going to go flashback. We're going to do the Sandy Pond arc.
Yeah, that'd be strange.
Sorry.
But yeah, either way, let us know your feelings down below about this, but the whole, skipping out an arc, skipping out on some people's favorite characters if you were a light novel or manga reader. And just, keep watching. Just let us know your opinions down below. Okay, next up on the list, Quintessential Quintuplets, episode number 9.
Welcome to Class 3-1.
So yeah, we had a tough choice today deciding if we were going to talk between Quintessential or Horimiya. Not because they were both so story packed, but because honestly neither of them were.
They're both slice of life romances. It's very hard to find stuff to talk about for most of them.
Yeah, neither of them really had huge story developments. Someone could argue either way that maybe this was really important, an episode to the future because this character deals with this and stuff like that. But we mainly just picked Quintessential because I don't know, it has more. I don't know, has more fun stuff in it to probably discuss.
The events in this episode are a little more unique, while the events in Horimiya were a little bit more overall to the theme.
Yeah.
So
either way, we're talking Quintessential Quintuplets. This episode, obviously, no longer in the cool hot springs anymore. We're done with that.
Yeah.
As the name suggests, this is now they're starting their 3rd year of high school. And a lot of the comedy in this episode kind of focuses around the fact that now all the quintuplets are in the same class.
Which I want to know who decided this.
I mean, I don't know if it's like, is it just random? I honestly don't. Even like for regular high school and stuff like that, like even like our high school. Well, I guess our high school is very different than Japanese high school.
Yeah, because we don't have a dedicated homeroom.
Yeah, theirs is more like our elementary school. But even elementary school, like when I went from grade 7 to grade 8, and I got put in grade 8, literally all of my friends in my friend group were in a different class than me, and I was like fucking miserable the first like 3 months. I made a few friends who were like just my class friends, then at like recess to go hang with my real friends. But I was fucking so angry. I'm like, what god, looks at this and decides like, haha, you this one, you that one. And I'm like, do they do this by some sort of like method, or is it literally just random? So kind of the same question. I imagine that the Japanese schools probably have like more of a, there's probably something more to it. I don't know.
I mean, I think you might be overthinking this. I think it's probably just they divide it into classes.
I'm looking at like the hero class from My Hero Academia, right? Obviously, you put all the best kids in one class and then all the other ones.
I mean, even that's not true, because in Hero Academia, they do like a bunch of the recommendation students are in class B.
Yeah, I guess. But the other ones are ones that tested well, though.
Not necessarily.
Listen, we'll be getting into more about class 1A and 1B when we get into My Hero Academia season 5. But yeah, I don't know what it is, but someone's like, hey, you know what, these quintuplets, how about we make it funny and put them all in the same class?
I think that's exactly what happened.
Someone was just like fucking around.
Someone who's probably on their last day in the job said, screw it, I'm going to make this hard for everyone.
But yeah, more importantly, Futaro or Usagi is also in the same class as them. And it basically becomes his job to help out his fellow classmates with distinguishing which one is which. Because now he considers himself the master, right?
Yeah, even then, he's just like, just go buy the accessories.
Yeah, he's like, see this stupid star clip, this tacky star clip in the hair? That's how you know it's Itsuki. And
yeah, headphones are Miku.
But yeah,
does Ichika have a defining?
I don't know. All of their hair should be pretty defining. It's all very different. Miku's got the ribbons. Obviously,
Miku doesn't have ribbons.
Does she? Oh, not Miku. Nino has ribbons.
Oh, okay.
Miku has headphones. Ichika has the star, or no, Itsuki has the star things. Ichika doesn't really have a thing. She just has the short hair. I don't know.
I guess, yeah. Now Nino had short hair too.
Yeah, but very different short hair though.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of the humor is like a girl walks up in the class and she's like, "Oh, come with us, Yotsuba." And then she's just like, and then he's like, no, that's not Yotsuba, you idiots. Like, and he's like, she's like, "Oh," and then she walks away and she goes to Itsuki. She's like, "Come with us, Yotsuba." And he's like, no. Like that was a lot of the comedy.
Go find the one with the big ribbon in her hair, just like.
So yeah, at one point, literally, it seems like that's like become his job in the class now. Not to mention at one point too, Yotsuba volunteers herself for like the class rep.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, now we need like the male class rep, and then she wants him to do it.
Yeah. She just zero apologies, just straight points. It was like, nope, he's the class rep now. It's like, what?
Yeah, which is interesting because like it kind of, even in this episode, it talked about how like Usagi has always just kind of like a dick, like he tries to like avoid. He doesn't really like deal with classmates and stuff like that because he just has one goal, which is studying, working hard, working on his future, stuff like that. So he doesn't really bother with anything else.
Yeah.
But now it seems like at least Yotsuba for the most part is kind of forcing him to.
Yeah. Like I think this, if I remember right, this is the arc where we're going to get a little bit more Yotsuba and Ichika coming out. So
I'm happy about half of those things. So yeah, I mean that's kind of important. That's more like a fun thing. It's going to have more importance in the future than being in the same class, obviously.
Yeah, we got to see a little bit of a rival for Usagi pop up. So
there's going to be like a third year like field trip at some point for sure.
I mean, she specifically said like the school field trip when she was talking in front of the class.
Oh yeah, right. Because they're like, oh, the biggest event of the year is coming up, and he's like, yes, the testing, and she's like, the field trip, and he's like, people care about that. So yeah, that I'm excited for those episodes, field trip episodes and beach episodes. Fuck, they're the best ones around. And then yeah, another big part of it is Ichika going off last episode. She tells all the girls, she's like, hey, you guys need to split on rent now. She's like, if you don't have your cut by the end of the month, you're going back to live at the apartment.
Yeah, just.
And she full out admits too. She's like, I kind of wish that I didn't do it because now like everyone's so busy. Everyone's gonna be so busy with work. This is gonna be something that might make us grow farther apart.
Yeah.
Again, kind of thing. Especially if someone actually does fail to make rent, and they have to go live at the house and kind of stuff like that. But she's like, she's kind of stopped wanting to baby them as much. She's got to start doing things for herself too. She mentioned that she had to take a lot of like kind of shitty roles just to make the money, and now she wants to work on things that are better. Better for her future, better for her career.
Yeah, especially things that are going to either challenge her or help her grow as an actress. So
yeah, and then another part of this is that something she did. I think it was the movie that she did in season 1, right after like the festival.
Yes.
that's kind of, it just came out. It's kind of taken off. It's been pretty popular, and that's why she was wearing glasses and in disguise. And then when they get to class, he kind of realizes, like Usugi kind of realizes everyone's like, oh my god, I saw you in this movie, and then so that's kind of like that's a big deal for a couple minutes at least.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's gonna have more importance in the future or not, but
I mean, it definitely plays a role as time goes on. I think her being like a public face.
That's true. And then we get to see the other characters. So obviously Miku and Nino both try to compete over a job at the bakery where Usugi works.
Yeah, which is just a straight up slaughter.
Yeah, I mean, like the funniest part too is like when I was watching, I was like, okay, like this is that he's doing the interviews and he's like, oh, asking questions, like, dude, just make them fucking bake something. Like this is the easiest interview of all time. And then like they get out and Nino's like, I don't know why you wanted to do a bake off to get the job. And I'm just like, yeah, it wasn't even fucking. I would expect Nino to kind of be a bitch and be like, how about we bake for it? And then like it's like, oh yeah, Miku's fucked now. Yeah. But no, it was fucking Miku decided this and screwed herself over.
Yeah, I mean, I think this really just goes into Miku kind of standing up for herself more, developing more self-confidence that she would even try and do that.
It's true, but then the funny part is then she just like, ends up getting a job at like a bakery across the street. And then later in the episode, Nino is talking about how like the manager said like it's been good for business though.
Yeah.
There was obviously a lot of importance there. Once again, Nino being the most forward one, she kind of has a discussion with Usugi, about being kind of awkward with us, since she said that she loves him, he's been kind of weird and stuff like that, and he's just like, I've never had anyone told me they love me before, trying to deal with it, all that kind of shit, basically.
Yeah, she even specifically says like, I don't need an answer, I just wanted you to know. So
yeah, and they kind of leave that conversation like a better place. There's like a little subplot going on there with like the famous. I think their name's May or Mai.
Yeah,
one of them. Food critic is there, and they show like a scene of them outside. And it's obviously Itsuki, which is kind of like just like a little joke plot going around in the background.
I mean, it's just a little thing, but I think it's a nice little touch to show that she is doing something.
Yeah,
because she was the only one established not to be working. So it's
true. I think that's just because we obviously know what she wants to do. She wants to do tutoring mixed with teaching, kind of thing. Eventually,
yeah.
I guess maybe that's hard to get into when you're kind of an idiot. So
I mean, yeah, when you yourself are getting tutored, I
feel like her only go-to is to start really, really low, like tutor like grade 1s, grade 2s, and hope that you know enough information to help them. And then obviously the end of the episode is probably like the biggest part in it. It's a lot of Ichika, which is what we've all wanted. I know, all of our favorite girl. It kind of focuses around her still trying to deal with her feelings. She acknowledges that she's not as forward as Nino. She's been having a lot more issues, even though in the last episode she's kind of been like, I'm going to take things for myself now.
Yeah, she still can't go for a direct attack. She can't come out and say it herself. That's the thing.
And so she puts on she has the Miku wig. I mentioned before she keeps the wig on her just in case.
Yeah,
and,
they have accessories to dress up like any of the other ones.
Yeah, and it's kind of important now because people are starting to recognize her from her movies.
Yeah,
they're looking for her, that kind of stuff, asking her too many questions. So she's like, "Oh, I'll just put on the Miku wig," and then she runs into Usugi, who still can't tell her apart. Which it looks like she's getting upset about that, just like how Miku kind of did in the last episode.
Yeah,
she's kind of getting upset originally that he can't tell that it's actually Ichika and not Miku.
Yeah, except for he doesn't have the breakthrough like he did with Miku.
I wondered at the first part if he actually knew it was her.
I was wondering if, because I don't remember this part that well from the manga. I was like, is he screwing with her?
Because it kind of seemed like he was screwing with her, but now I don't think so. Unless after the next episode when the revelation comes, he's like, it's like in his head. He's like, I knew that. He's like, I know that's Ichika. But let's say Ichika kind of fucked up a little bit. So while Usugi thinks that she's Miku, she literally just says, "Hey, by the way, Ichika likes you."
I think you guys would look good together.
I think you guys would look good. Listen, I like that she's being aggressive, but that ain't the way to do it.
That's just a bitch move.
And then, you get like her little fucking face too.
Like the evil dead eyes. She's like, oh my God.
Yeah, and he's like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah. And then that's just kind of like where the episode ends. And there's a few issues with this, okay? So one, being a coward to the first part, right? Like using, your sister, basically getting, it would be the same as if she actually got her sister to be like, hey, she likes you. That's like,
no, it's not.
But no, I mean like if it was just that sense, it'd be close to being the same. But even that's kind of like cowardly. That's like the classic like grade 1, grade 2 thing. You get your friend to give them a note that says, do you like them? Check yes or no. So it kind of goes against what she's been trying to do. Like she's been trying to gain the courage from seeing how Nino handled it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And instead she goes with this method, which isn't good. Not to mention the fact that then she says like, I think you guys would look good together. So to be fair, no, there's no way she doesn't know that Miku.
No, she knows. She was one of the first people to figure it out.
Yeah, I don't. It's just not. I don't know. I still love her. She's still the best.
God damn.
She's still the best, but I can't see this working out well for her.
No, because what Nino did was one thing, but she's literally tearing down Miku to do this.
Yeah, I mean, she's not like. Imagine she's like, look how stupid and ugly I am. Don't you wish you had Ichika instead? But yeah, I was thinking that maybe Usugi knew that it was her until at the end he's like, wait, really? And I was like, yeah, I don't think he does anymore. But like, I think that she would do something, and maybe the next episode at the beginning she'll do something that he'll be like, oh, that's actually her. Like he'll recognize one thing she does, kind of thing.
Just like I could have swore that was Ichika, but
yeah, something like that, like a retrospective thing where he's gonna be like, wait a minute. Yeah, I don't really know how that's gonna play out for her. I think that she's probably gonna feel pretty bad in the next episode.
Yeah, especially considering if he talks to Miku about it again, it's like, hey, but what you told me about Ichika.
Yeah, it's gonna get messy. It's gonna get messy.
Like this is gonna be the first real rift between the sisters.
Yeah, because I mentioned this before. I really liked when, even though I don't like Nino, I liked when Nino just came out not only because they subverted expectations by her like classic anime. She says it on the bike, he doesn't hear her, and you're like, oh, there it is. The main character didn't hear the fact that they love her, but then she just comes back in anyways and says it again. I'm like, okay, like I don't like Nino, but I like that's forward. I like that this plot is now out here that he knows that at least one of them loves him. But yeah, I as much as I would have loved it for now him to know that two of them love him, that's not the way to play it though.
Yeah.
I still think that we're going to see some stuff in the next episode. Either we're going to see Ichika feeling really bad and just like admitting it there and like taking off the wig. Like maybe this is...
You think they're going to just red herring this and go with the...
I think they could, kind of like the Nino situation. I think that instead of like making this like a plot that's going to be a few episodes long where, he slowly finds out that wasn't Miku through various means, it's possible that she feels bad immediately and like takes off the wig and be like, yeah, I do kind of thing. Which then would redeem her, obviously. Not as bad of a situation, but...
Still pretty bad.
Got awkward for her. Or imagine then like fucking Miku comes around the corner like in the next part. Miku's like, oh, Ichigo, where'd you go? And she comes around the corner and then Usugi just like looks back and he's like,
I know you're Miku, so who am I talking to?
Yeah, that would be good too. Either way, we'll be talking about it next week probably, depending on how good of an episode it is and how, plot focused. Judging off the, cliffhanger in this, I feel like it's going to be something we're going to want to talk about. Could be
probably,
spicy.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, we'll find out next week. If you have any thoughts, opinions, all that kind of stuff down below on Quintessential Quintuplets. Perfect. We kind of mentioned like earlier on, we're not 100% sure between this and Horimiya if we'll even be talking about one of them. It really all just comes down to the anime. But if it's something that you like seeing, so if you're a fan of Quintessential Quintuplets or Horimiya, just let us know down below, and then we can kind of keep track of who's actually watching this part. For all I know, no one's watching this part. Everyone's skipping by, and it's just me and Jimmy talking about a good anime. Either way, I'm okay with that. But you can just let us know down below if it's something you care about. Okay, next up on the list, pretty big one, especially this week, Kumodesu, episode 9.
I can't speak isekai?
Yeah, it was probably like, I don't know if it was the biggest episode. A lot of people said it was going to be pretty big. I know like last week this and then Mushoku Tensei was like, people were like, oh, the next episode. It's like a big kind of change up thing.
I mean, this showed us a lot more of the tiers of the world. It showed us a lot more details as opposed to an individual character.
Yeah, it showed us a lot of stuff. Like, I don't even remember the order in which it shows it, but one of the very first things they do, which we mentioned last week because at some point someone let us know below, in the comments that there's a time jump.
Time discrepancy.
Yeah, a time discrepancy between the two different perspectives we're seeing. So everything that goes on with Kumoko is like 15, like I don't know, let's just say 14 to 17 years different because it's somewhere in between depending on when you're seeing, between when we're seeing like Shun and the rest of the human characters later on. And then, people were like, oh, well, if you already know this, and they started commenting stuff last week. But this episode, if we didn't already know it, this episode would have been what told us, basically. Yeah. How did they actually confirm it? I have a hard time actually remember, but they did. It was early on in this. It was with his brother. His brother comes back and he mentions that his mom got the silk from his scarf from a Terratect like 15 years ago when the humans were in the cave. And then we see, and like another interesting, we see Kumiko without her cute
we saw
perspective.
her as an actual terrifying ass spider.
Yeah, so it really kind of ruins it for me. I was just kind of always praying that she would just be a cute spider instead.
I mean, I'm good with it either way.
There cliffhangers at the end of this, or questions at the end at this episode, which I still think are red herring in general, are like does she get a human form? Because in this, you're really thinking that she does, but I'm not 100% sure. We're going to get into that more as the episode goes on. But yeah, so we learned about the actual time skip through a revelation between Shun and his brother Julius. Hate saying it. I just wish it was Julius. But
I think it's a pronunciation thing.
Yeah, we're just going to call him Julius, though, because it's a better name. So yeah, we get the time skip between that, which is really, really good.
Yeah, we got to see the end of the dragon fight.
We did also get confirmed that Faye was the dragon egg that Kumoko actually was involved with, which I think if we go back, we thought that. I think that we predicted that.
I think we talked about it at one point, but that was when we were still discussing the timelines.
Yeah, I think that was before someone commented. Listen, if you want to go back and double check all of our work in old Kumodesu episodes, there's only like 8 possible ones to go to. And we have times. We have timestamps. But I think at some point before someone even confirmed there was a 15-ish time gap between the two, I think we thought that it was possible that there was a time gap there and that Faye could have been the Earth Dragon egg. So I think we may have thought of that. Someone wants us to go through and write down all of our predictions as we go for Kumodesu stuff and then look back at it later. Because people are often like, it's crazy how right and wrong you guys are all at one time. So I think they were often very, very close in like a complete opposite way. So that'd be kind of interesting going back and looking at. I think that was early on. That
was when the dragon egg got taken away. I think
so, like episode 2 or something. Like
it was like maybe 3 or 4.
That was before we thought that there was a time jump, but we there was a possibility that we're like, hey, maybe this is like the actual egg there, and we just haven't seen it yet, or something along those lines. So that'd be interesting to go back and look at. So, but we see Kumoko's actual spider form. We see a little bit more. Like I want to say, like we obviously then we go to the fight with the fire dragon.
Yeah,
which is kind of what we're expecting. Kumoko, obviously, the last episode cliffhanger with her being dead, wasn't at all dead. No surprise. She used like a
phantasm
Kage no Bunshin Jutsu. I mean, she basically used like a image. I don't know, a minor image or something along those lines to pretend that she's there when she was actually attacking from above. Even that doesn't finish off the fight though. It still goes for a little bit longer. We finally get to see her use the big gate, Hell Gate, or whatever it is.
Yeah, Abyss Magic, what is it, Summon Hades?
Yeah, so it drops down a big-ass door, it, like, sucks in all the lava and does damage to the Fire Dragon too, but it still has, like, 1 HP or something. It's got, like, very low HP. She's got very low HP. She's like, you know what, whoever hits next is the winner kind of situation. And they go through. She does it. She wins. She beats the Fire Dragon. All's good. And then we see, it cuts to, like, this male character looking kind of, like, cool and evil with his horns.
Yeah.
And then it's like a voice being like, oh, something's going on in this dungeon, like a dragon's just been slayed or something.
Yeah.
And then like he's like, oh fuck. And then it goes back to Kumoko and she's like, something's going on. She's like, someone's opening up. Someone's gonna teleport right there. I can feel it.
Yeah, which you got an interesting bit of lore here. The fact that they talk about how her mental acceleration doesn't affect her body moving any faster.
Yeah, just that it affects her thinking processes.
So she's seeing this like, I know this is coming. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's also with like the mix of that and like detection. She's like knows exactly where the portal's about to open up, but she can't do anything. Like she doesn't have time to escape.
Yeah.
So then it opens up, an evil-looking guy comes in and starts trying to talk to her. It's not working. He speaks a different language, and then a fucking cell phone just portal drops in. And I'm watching this. I'm like, fucking cell phone? Like what? In another world with my smartphone? Crossover.
That was the thought that crossed my mind. If that happened, I would have stopped watching and walked away.
That's obviously...
I'm sorry. I'm not putting up with that shit again.
So this is like the second big like world reveal after the whole Administrator D thing early on about like something really sus going on with like, human world stuff. So basically this phone drops in. Kumoko's like, what's going on? And the phone's like, can you hold for a second, little spider? And she's like, okay. And then it talks to the guy in a different language. I don't even think they tell us what it's actually saying with him.
No, we don't actually understand it because they're speaking that other language. So
yeah, so either way, he just like talks on the phone a little bit and then he portals out. And then it goes back to the phone talking, and the person on the phone's like, hey, it's like, I'm Administrator D. And she's like, oh, you're the one from earlier. She's like, yeah, I gave you that skill. She's like, I've been watching you kind of thing. At one point, she mentions that she's like an evil god or something.
Yeah, she's an evil god who's watching her because she thinks she's funny.
Yeah, which, that's kind of funny.
A little meta, but okay.
Yeah, so that like opens up for a lot of questions, not to mention this whole thing it's either such a good red herring for later on in the episode, or it's actually all just like exactly what it seems like. I can't believe that though. Because then a lot of the rest episode focuses on there's like a weird meeting going on. It's got a bunch of demons. So we see, when we see Shun earlier, he's mentioning that there's about to be like a war. He thinks that there's like a war with the demons coming. And then, he takes off. And then then we see like basically a war council with all these demons. Yeah. This is in the future time, obviously. So this is like 15-ish years from when we see Kumoko last into the cell phone. There's this demon lord we've seen before, a little girl, all these guys, including the guy we saw earlier who came in. And they're all kind of discussing about like the issues, and there's multiple things that are wrong here. One, the demon lord is using spider webs.
Yep.
At one point, one guy's questioning, be like, "Oh, she's only. Why is she even the demon lord? She's only been here for this long. Like, why are we listening to her?" About to fight with the other guy who's defending her. She gets them both in the web, stops them.
Yeah. Full on marionette style. Like they're just
mentions
locked down.
so like spider webs. First clue mentions the fact that she'll use abyss magic. And they're like, "No, thank you." Second clue, even the voice. Did you listen to the voice?
Yeah.
Sounded a lot like Kumoko.
Yeah. I don't think they're going that hard though.
I know, that's why it's got to be a red herring, but there's no way the show doesn't want us to think that.
But she has the Demon Lord title.
Yeah.
So
well, no, she didn't have the Demon Lord title. She got something close to it.
Oh, right. She got something that's the prerequisite to be.
Yeah, it wasn't the official Demon Lord title, but it's something that obviously, and we were joking about earlier on in one of our episodes, being like, what if she becomes the Demon Lord kind of situation? Even last week before all this, we're like, maybe the reason the teacher doesn't want to tell them, the kids, where, Wakaba is, whatever her name is because maybe she's the Demon Lord now. And then this one, and then even like she has like the secret meeting with the guy we saw earlier and being like, "Hey, remember that first day we met?" And this is like the same episode where we saw him meet Kumoko. And we're like, "Oh, like they're really trying to fucking make this."
Like, I want to make one note about the guy. Do you think that's Hugo?
No, it can't be.
Why not?
Because
you don't think he got some demon upgrades when he joined the other side?
No, it wouldn't have been enough time because this would have been directly after Hugo would have went with the demon before.
True.
If it was like if originally it was like 15 years, that could be him in the future. But this guy seems too chill, too cool, especially with letting someone else run the show too. Basically, what we've seen from Hugo. I think we're gonna see Hugo probably fighting for this demon side, the demon army, or whatever like that is.
I was just wondering because he had the same hairstyle and just the same demeanor almost.
Yeah, I mean he was the big, cool, strong guy. Like, but this guy was obviously much more like, I don't know, subtle. He's a little quieter. Probably makes you think he's actually stronger than he is. Unlike Hugo, who's like all talk. Yeah, kind of thing. I do think we'll see Hugo fighting for like the demon side, but I definitely don't think he's that high up yet, especially with his lack of all of his skills. But yeah, so a lot of the episode is obviously pointing to the fact that this demon lord is Kumoko. It's got to be a red herring, though.
I mean, do you think she's in that room though?
They show one other character that it could be, who is a girl with platinum hair
and the white
with the hood over.
Tell me she doesn't have protagonist energy.
I either saw protagonist. The only other person I thought that could have been, look wise, just like when I paused it, could have been the religious girl, but I just couldn't figure that out.
I mean, if Kumoko manages to go full circle, goes full human and infiltrates the school.
I mean, like,
and then she's sitting there asking, like, "Hey, am I dead?"
It's just like there's strong possibilities that obviously that the demon lord itself is not Kumoko. This is like a different Terratect who's evolved. Maybe it's the mother, maybe it's a sibling, something along those lines. Yeah. Maybe they were there before.
I mean, maybe it's her. Maybe we're overthinking this.
Maybe we are, but it seems like they're giving too many clues without technically telling us. Because if the guy could have been like, "Hey, remember that day we first met where that cell phone dropped and you were a little spider," and it would have confirmed everything for us. But instead, they were just vague enough. Because they could have met at any time. I mean,
we don't know that because that guy seemed to know exactly what to do with the smartphone.
That's true.
So maybe he's another isekai.
Maybe. There's a lot of questions. Once again, it really comes down to, is that actually Kumoko? Is it a red herring? I think that the funnier option would definitely be if Kumoko is just the character there with the hood on that they don't show. But yeah, like the voice, everything's similar. Obviously, the type of magic, the spider in this. And then obviously we end with kind of a big plot thing too. Shun's just kind of chilling in class. Jimmy finally gets his wish. Shun's chilling in class, having a good old fucking time, learning and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden he's given the hero title. Which obviously he starts to panic a little bit. He starts to freak out because in his head he's like, only one person can have the hero title. You can't actually optionally relinquish the title. It's only passed on when you're dead.
Yeah.
Now I don't know how they choose who gets the or the hero title. It's not like it's passed through blood or anything like that. I think it's actually just like
they didn't establish this. It could be hereditary. It could just be chosen based on whoever has the greatest potential in the world.
Maybe. If anything, we have to assume just like the other thing we've seen, it's just given by a god or an administrator, right?
Yeah, just like, I like you.
They also could have think that was like funny. As we've seen, Administrator D pretty much says like, "Hey, I'm an evil god, but like I like watching you and like helping you and stuff like that because it's kind of fucking funny." So this other, it could have been the same one or it could have been a different administrator, A or B maybe, and they're like, "It'd be kind of funny if I let Shun know his brother was dead right now by giving him the hero title." And they're just like, "Boop, there you go, buddy." And then he obviously panics, realizes that his brother's dead, and the last scene is it kind of shows just some remnants of a battle where we see that the scarf kind of blowing around.
Yeah, the interesting thing is it's a smoking crater, but we don't actually see any remnants. We see armor, we see a weapon, but we don't see any blood. We don't see any.
Yeah, which it's possible that this is also like a different type of red herring. He's not dead somehow, and there's a different way the hero title got passed on. Because it's like anything. If you don't show a character die, are they really
It's hard
dead?
to believe it.
Yeah.
I almost wonder, based on the crater and the way that they're just gone, you think they got reverse isekai'd?
That'd be kind of fun.
Like his brother got sent back to his world?
That'd be kind of dope, actually. And then we get a fucking season about that. Oh,
yeah.
Listen, reverse isekai is not. I mean, I guess it would still just be regular isekai.
It'd be isekai, but no magic. It'd be
That would be like, we've mentioned this before. Like, imagine instead a show about a spider in a fantasy world that then got reincarnated as a human in our world, right?
I mean, I wouldn't even say
Right?
spider, like something that has some baseline intelligence. Just getting plopped down in our world is like, what? I have to.
Yeah, it's just like a little goblin child gets killed by like a hero, then reincarnated as just like a regular baby in like Japan, and you just have to watch like them grow up, be like, this is weird. Where's all the magic and where, like that would be something that'd be so funny. I'm surprised an anime hasn't touched on that more.
Devil's a part timer.
Yeah, I guess, but it worked really well though.
It did, yeah.
Too.
It did well enough that it got a second season. Apparently,
It's true. But yeah, either way, obviously lots of world building stuff. Lots of questions like, is the hero actually dead? Is Kumoko actually a demon lord? Like there's a lot of shit that happened in this episode, not to mention even just with the overarching thoughts about like these administrators / gods. Is this some sort of game? Is this some sort of just different dimension? Like there's so many questions with the world that we're probably never going to learn about.
is this just like some really extra full dive RPG where you're born into this world and?
But okay, well, so that would just kind of be like the newest season of Sword Art Online, where they create AIs that they can literally then try to take their brains and put them in robots to make soldiers. And
That's a whole other conversation.
But my question is, what about next episode? Are we just going back to Kumoko's current timeline? Do you think?
I think so. Like we might see Shun getting like geared up to try and go get revenge or something like that. But we might even get a time skip for him.
It's possible. Like we've heard people mention before that like, they don't think that we're going to see Kumoko outside of the labyrinth until like the end of the first quarter,
Probably
or whatever,
not.
which would be like the 13th episode or whatever the end of a typical one season anime would be.
Yeah, usually it's 13.
So that's still a few episodes away. So I think we're still going
Well-
to see Kumoko, at least like half episodes about Kumoko at the very least, probably more.
Yeah,
kind of just dealing with the dungeon stuff.
Yeah,
still
there's
making
no
our
way
up.
we're not going to get information about Shun dealing with his brother's death.
Yeah, I think it'll be small pieces at a time. I don't think we're just going to get the full episode of him trying to go off march. He's not just because he became the hero doesn't mean he's just ready to go off and fight the demon army.
We're
and
going to get
stuff.
the breakdown episode next.
I think if anything for him, we might maybe at the end of this season or like the end of this first part of the season, maybe does meet with like Hugo and deals with him, or meets him, finds out he's like joined the demon side or something along that line, like some sort of like mini enemy for him to deal with. I'm still really excited to see now that like we've seen a possible future for Kumoko. When she gets out of the dungeon now, what's she gonna do? How's she gonna get out of the dungeon? How's she even gonna meet a situation where maybe she could become a demon lord or go to this place?
Because do we even know what Kumoko's goal is at this point? Because she was before trying to get to the higher stratum for safety.
Yeah.
But now she's easily fighting things on the second stratum and even things like dragons.
Yeah, I feel like she'll still want to go up. She might still just want to get out of the labyrinth just to experience, air and the sky and all that kind of stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she wants to meet humans and befriend them or something.
Like, and if that's the case, is she going to try and like develop a language skill?
That's what I thought especially knowing that there's like this administrator who's down to help and send cell phones to translate. I thought that at some point, maybe now she'll just be like, hey, I really think I should be given a skill that lets me talk to humans and stuff.
Can I get some sort of communication ability?
She already has Google. She just needs to add the Google Translate option onto it.
Or
like Duolingo.
I think that only works on the skill she already has.
Oh, darn. Either way, lots of questions about the world in general. I'm kind of excited to see where we go next episode because this was like I don't know, the cliffhanger was pretty big in this, obviously, with the whole like hero dying, Shun's point of view, stuff like that. And not to mention just the overarching part about, the demon, basically the demon army is trying to like take over right now, right? Like,
yeah, the demons are going to war.
So it's kind of hard to just ignore that and just to continue in the regular, Shun's lives and stuff like that, learning at school when like these demons have now just beaten the hero. So they're currently winning whatever war they were doing.
Yeah, like technically the war hadn't even broken out. This is the first shot.
Yeah.
And they took out the hero.
Yeah.
So
now, to be fair, they only mentioned, the thing is about the hero is that it specifically mentioned like the hero's skill is like to raise its stats up to match like the demon lord or like that. That just sounds like a classic get someone who's not the demon lord who's stronger to fight him and then they don't match up. But I guess at the same time, you'd need to have someone whose stats are better than the hero to begin with.
Yeah, or you have the Demon Lord plus some other people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's multi. Yeah, I don't know. Either way,
Like you don't have to fight fair. This isn't Pokemon. You don't have to go 1v1.
So I imagine Pokemon just started breaking the rules too, and you just like start like throwing all 6 of your Pokemon on one of them, and be like, "Go boys!" It was a very good episode though. We learned a lot, but for everything we learned, we just have more questions.
Yeah,
for every question answered, we got 2 more, which is something that we kind of expect because people constantly talk about Kumo and the author and stuff like that. They set up all these tiny little threads. Spider pun. They set up all these little threads, and then eventually they're gonna lead somewhere. Almost like it's a big web.
I hate you so much.
But yeah, obviously, if you have any thoughts, opinions, spoiler-free theories, let us know down below. If you do have a spoiler, make sure you tag it as a spoiler and leave enough space so that people can choose whether or not they want it spoiled for them. And yeah, obviously, if you guys are watching this, Kumodesu fan base has been pretty big for the channel recently.
Oh God, yeah.
I'm very excited to see where we end this, even just like this first part. Obviously, it's really, really good that this is a full 25, 26 episode series.
It is,
which is nice. So we're going to be continuing this all the way up until like the beginning of summer anime, which is kind of dope. But even just like for this first part, this first little arc there, I'm really excited to see where it goes, especially if we do end up getting Kumoko leaving the dungeon, because we have no precedent right now for what that's going to look like.
Yeah, we don't know what the role of monsters outside of the actual labyrinth itself is. We don't know if she's going to be able to roam free or...
Yeah, not to mention the fact that obviously by starting somewhere, which is like the hardest labyrinth in the world, and even going to some of the lower levels and taking out some of the hardest monsters in the whole world, then when she gets out, everything has become easy mode.
I mean, effectively, yeah, I think that's going to be the payoff where we're going to get her kind of cruising along.
Well, not to mention the thing is, though, it's not even like you can... Originally, our guess was that maybe she goes and meets up with her classmates and stuff like that. But by knowing that that's not for 15 years in the future, what the hell does she do for 15 years?
Yeah, like we don't even know what the lifespan of a Terratect is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming as she evolves and becomes better, it becomes, longer.
I mean, I'd assume, yeah.
A regular one. There's still kind of other things, too. Like, do you think that, her mother spider is going to be dealt with in, like, this first part somehow?
I don't know, because I remember in the comments last week, a lot of people said the dragon was messed up by her mother.
Yeah, that was one of the things we asked on last week when we were trying to figure out, why. It was so weird because a lot of people in the comments either think that, they didn't want to tell us about this because it could be something they bring up later, but it wouldn't make any sense to bring this up later, really. Yeah, because we were kind of wondering why the dragon was injured, right? Like they kind of hinted at it in the show. They make like little jokes about it, and then to not pay that off is kind of strange. And then in the comments we were known that in the actual part in like the light novel or whatever, they mentioned this right here that he was fighting with her mother, big mother spider, and that's what left him injured first. But for them not to show that in the anime is just strange, unless in this like first part maybe we see another encounter with the mother spider and then maybe they like flash back to it fighting the dragon or something.
Yeah, maybe the next episode show the mother be wounded or something like that.
Some people thought they just didn't want to pay the budget to have the big fighter or spider fighting the big dragon.
I mean that's possible too. Like we see a lot of like really good animation of the fights from this, don't we?
Yeah, like it is CGI, and making 2 big CGI monsters fight, I don't know, might be more expensive or something, but
or even just complicated to make look good.
Yeah,
like even just animating a spider, I feel like might not be the easiest thing in the world.
Well, because even most if you look back at the Fire Dragon and Kumoko fight, I feel like a lot of it wasn't that crazy. Like even CGI, a lot of it.
It's a lot of flash cuts, a lot of like individual attack strikes.
Yeah, I don't even think they used CGI on like Kumoko's movements and stuff a lot in the fight. It was mainly just like still images. And,
it was mostly it was mostly blur movements and like just idle animations.
Yeah,
but I don't think there was anything bad with that. They're doing a good enough job with it that I'm not going to.
Yeah, but if they would have had to do the full CGI big spider versus big dragon, maybe that would have been some extra budget, So maybe they're like, hey, it's not really needed. Let's just cut it. Or maybe they're saving it to show us in the future. But it just seems like something that like, why would that help us in the future?
I'm even just trying to figure out like how would you animate a spider beating a dragon?
I don't know.
Because like the dragon had like flesh stripped down to the bones.
So I'm assuming like big poison. Like big acid spray, like splash the side of it, and then maybe it fell or something. I don't know. But either way, it's weird that they didn't have that in. But maybe I feel like before Kumoko leaves this labyrinth, maybe there might be some sort of resolution with that.
I think she's going to deal with her mother before she leaves because her mother was on the top stratum.
Yeah. What if her mother then evolves into the Demon Lord, and that's the Spider Demon Lord? Like,
I mean, I'm going to say this: if the Demon Lord is not Kumoko, I think it's going to be spooky.
Do you think so?
I mean, who else would it be?
Okay, wait. There was one other thing here. The Demon Lord is definitely reincarnated. She mentions it in this. She calls him because when she talks about how she's going to kill the hero, she says, "I'm sorry, Yamada-kun, which is Shun's
Yeah,
first name.
you were good to me in the last life.
Yeah, so that's one thing we missed when we were talking about this earlier. So
Yeah,
another hint that
that's
is
huge.
I don't know how we missed talking about that. Another hint that it's possibly Kumoko, but more importantly, it's just an obvious fact that it is someone who's reincarnated. So
Oh god, yeah.
I still think that, I mean, it could be the spooky character. I kind of thought the spooky girl would have been the girl that was shown talking to Hugo. Kind of came in and interacted with
Maybe.
him. Also, like a demon-like character, but at the same time, not 100% sure. It also, they've mentioned that it was Shun's other friend, the third friend in like their little flashback.
Yeah.
The teacher also mentioned that she knows where he is too,
But she won't tell
But she
them.
won't tell them. So that's another male character that could be. Maybe it's the tough-looking guy we've seen.
I mean, it could be the demon who showed up to Hugo.
I think that was female though, but I guess you could be reincarnated as a female. So
Yeah, they established that gender
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything in reincarnation. So
that's true. And I definitely think one more at least is going to be a monster.
probably, yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, the demon lord, the current demon lord, probably could have came from a monster like a pterodactyl anyway, so it wouldn't really matter.
Yeah.
But I think demon is a specific race. I don't know if that's different.
I don't know.
Like, I don't know if one person could just be born as a demon,
if
or
you-
if they
if you-
all come up from monsters.
If you can go from spider to humanoid, I think you can go from spider to demon.
Maybe these are questions we don't know. But yeah, I can't believe we forgot that. But yeah, so that proves that whoever the
Let's switch the
current
talk.
demon lord is, it is definitely reincarnated, but we don't know for sure. Yeah, I don't really know if I don't know. There's so many questions.
Like after they established a name for that character, Spooky's going to be one of them.
100%. Yeah, to me it seems it's either got to be the demon that showed up for Hugo or the demon lord.
Yeah.
I still just can't believe that the demon lord's actually Kumiko, because like even then,
It
like
just seems too obvious.
it seems too obvious, and like we've seen Kumiko, and I just don't believe that she became like a demon lord who's just cool with like killing people in this world.
Yeah, I don't think she's quite that far gone.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been 15 years. Maybe when we see what's happened in these 15 years, maybe we're like, oh, never mind, she is that far
I
gone.
mean, maybe we're going to get more details on the other, like all the demons around that table.
Maybe.
For all we know, they're all reincarnated.
It's true.
Like everyone she's listed off as like, oh, they're off in a village or they're dead. Like maybe that's them.
They're all just chilling there. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of questions. I don't know how many of them are going to be answered in this like first season. But they're already giving me way more information than I would have guessed in like the first season.
Yeah, you want to know what's going to happen? Like every other time we talk about this, the questions we have, they're going to answer at least one of them in the first 30 seconds of the next episode.
In next week. Hey, listen, I hope so. Yeah, I don't know. We're excited to see next week's episode. If you have any thoughts, stuff like that about this episode, let us know.
Yeah, if you-
and yeah, we'll be talking about it next week.
Yeah, feel free to call me a bastard in the comments for wanting Julius dead and getting my wish.
At least we don't know that Kumiko was the one who killed Julius, which is your main wish you wanted.
I mean, I just thought that would be funny, but
I know everyone before was like, everyone agreed with me. They're like, he is best boy. Why do you want him dead? But yeah,
I don't know.
well,
The
at least
heart wants
as
what the heart
far as
wants.
we know, you got your wish. So there you go.
I mean,
there you go.
we
Okay.
got some drama.
Okay, so we'll be talking about Kumiko, or not Kumiko. Well, I mean, we'll be talking about Kumiko. We'll be talking about Kumodesuga Nanika episode number 10 next week, so keep an eye out for that. Next up, Jujutsu Kaisen episode number 21.
Jujutsu Koshien.
So
What do we talk about?
yeah, okay. This is going to be a very short part of Jujutsu Kaisen. Obviously, we get a little bit of follow up. This is after the big fight.
Yeah.
So you know, there's not a lot going on in this episode. There's a couple questions answered, like, you know, they mentioned the stealing the fingers thing again.
Yeah, we get a little bit of information about the temples, how most of them are just dummies, and there's one specific person doing.
Yeah, there's like I don't know, it's almost like a god at this point. It's someone who's like curse made them like immortal basically.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop them from actually aging. They're not, you know, eternally youthful. They just don't die. So they
Yeah.
basically become just like a tree at this point kind of thing.
Yeah,
And they control the different passages into the vault and shit like that.
Yeah, which they established that their entire technique is just about hiding. It doesn't actually protect.
It's about hiding, and it's also about hiding from like basically like, you know, living or like human stuff like that. And that since that one of them is like the nature curse, that it seems like they think that, or at least Gojo thinks that by being the nature curse, that's how they kind of circumvented it and
It's
located
closer
it.
to a natural spirit than like a proper.
Yeah, we're not
curse.
actually given that much information. Even the stuff we're told is just like Gojo's point of view, like what he thinks probably happened.
They were just spitballing at that
Yeah,
point.
he's not 100% confirmed, but he's just thinking about, hey, what's the most likely option here? There's a couple little side stuff too, as we see them we see the principal, I think his name's Yaga, like their current principal,
Yeah.
discussing with the, you know, the elder guy about like, hey, do you still want to kill Itadori? And he's like, it's not that I hate, or it's not that I like or dislike him. He's just like, he's just like a risk we can't take kind of thing. And then the principal's kind of like, oh, but you know what? Like, listen, like, look how good he is. He teamed up with Toto to fight off a special grade. All that kind of stuff. So he's kind of trying to convince the guy, like, hey, maybe we don't kill Itadori. At least in the meantime, he's like, maybe we just like leave him be for now.
Yeah, like even he said, like, I don't know exactly how I feel about him at this point, but I do know there's a lot of people who would have died that are alive right now because of him.
Yeah, and then we don't like see the other guy's like answer. We don't see him be like, yeah, I'll leave Itadori alone or anything like that. But by him like not just immediately arguing, it's like, okay, maybe he's down to stop trying to kill him in the meantime to let.
I mean, I think at this point he might realize he can't.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, I feel the only person who would really probably actively be able to kill him is someone who definitely will not kill him, which is Gojo.
Yeah, he's just a little bit too much on his side to do that. So
yeah, and at least we also get to see the one guy we thought was going to be eternally a dick. I don't remember his name. I remembered it last week. The one from one of the families.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's all bandaged up and stuff like that. He kind of like while he's we'll discuss what he's doing, but while he's going up for to bat, and Itadori's behind him, he kind of like asks him, he's like, why are you a sorcerer kind of thing? And he's just like, I just want to protect as many people as possible so that when I die, they're all like there kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then it shows his flashback with his mom and stuff like that, and he's like, oh, that's like a good reason. So he kind of accepts Itadori in his own way. Before immediately getting striking out. Yeah, and then we'll discuss the rest of the episode. They play baseball.
Yeah, I know this is them just taking a cool down episode from everything that's happened.
Yeah.
But why baseball?
Well, it's Japan's #1 sport.
I know. But do you think they just wanted to go with
pastime.
Do you think they just wanted the pun off of Koshien?
I mean, that's probably a big part of it. It's probably just between Japan loves baseball, so why not show it?
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping they would have done more like a they're all using their powers in baseball. It'd be kind of fun to watch, but really,
see fucking Dobro go with a hammer, just like
yeah, like just switches instead of the bat, pulls up the hammer, and just like I was hoping we'd see something like that. I
mean, they talk about how they're allowed to use
only the outfielders because since they're short teams.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So only very specific people, yeah. So that's why. But yeah, it's literally just the two different schools. They normally and they do mention what we thought. They say normally the first day is a group event, and then the second day is like one-on-one combat. Which is typical, which is what like anybody would have expected of a regular tournament arc in an anime.
Yeah.
But then this year they every single year they like draw one to pick what it is, and they basically always cheat, so it's always the same thing.
Yeah, they always put the exact same thing, and then Gojo just rigged it.
Yeah, and then Gojo just rigged it so it's baseball instead. Yeah, and then we just see them play baseball. We see a couple little funny parts like. The one group brings out Mekamaru as their pitcher, which is just a pitching machine with his like little face thing drawn on it or like his like written on it. They're like, well, since Panda like kind of fucked him up in the last, this is what we have. So he's just a pitching machine. We get to see the witch girl gets to fly around and use her stuff because she's the outfielder, and that's allowed because they're short staffed.
Yeah. Does Megami gets to use his freaking summons?
If he was the outfielder, yeah, he should be able to. He just get his little bird thing to fly and catch all the balls.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some funny parts. Obviously, as I said, we mentioned the one character kind of accepts Itadori right before, getting completely out.
Struck
out. He just gets 3 strikes gone. We get to see Toto coming in, which you expect him to just absolutely crush it. And here's the good thing. Okay, here's the good thing. I think it's Saki would be the pitch. I think she was the pitcher.
Yeah.
He's obviously a powerhouse, right? You expect if he hits that ball, home run. What's the best way then? You hit him. That's just one base. He just walks one base. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So yeah,
I don't even know if they were thinking that hard. I think they just wanted to hit him in the face.
But yeah, it's so funny because even in this, like we saw how much him and Itadori bonded out of nowhere in the last episodes where they're calling each other like brother. Their timing's perfect. But in this one, like Itadori like regrets it. He's just like,
he's very much like,
I don't know what came over me, dude.
I kind of got swept up in the moment, and this is just getting a little creepy, dude.
Yeah, and like I think honestly the funniest part was like whenever a character came out to like the batter it showed like a little like information box
blurb
down below, and some of them were so funny. Like I think Toto's was like genuinely believes that him and Itadori went to middle school together and played.
No, it says he claims that he won the middle school championship with Itadori. Itadori denies this.
Some of them were like so funny. I would love to just go through and like read them all.
Yeah.
Some of them were really really like quick little ones. A lot were about like a sandwich or something like that. But there were some really funny ones, and it was just like obviously a very like filler episode for the second half.
But I think we needed that after everything that just happened.
Yeah, obviously we had like a lot of big episodes. They do mention I think like story plot too at one point that they're they're interrogating the blacksmith because they kept him alive, just trying to figure out everything like that. We see the nature curse come back, not dead, obviously, but very injured. And then the human hand guy is about to go finish off. And then what's his name? Mahito comes in and be like, no. Like, you're just a human. Like,
yeah, you don't get to do this. Calm down.
Yeah. So there's a couple little important things. There's like the question that they have about like, did they take these fingers, so that Itadori couldn't eat them?
Or are they trying to power themselves up?
Or are they trying to power themselves up kind of thing? So there's like the question as to what their whole plan was of getting these back. And then they also mentioned that like one of the reasons they were able to find them is because when they gave the one finger away, like after killing Junpei's mom, they like put like a tracking device in it.
Yeah, they put like a curse under a single layer of the seal. So
yeah, so there's a couple little tiny details that are important, but for the most part, it's a filler, right? They're just playing baseball. You get some funny
if you
content.
skip this episode, you would not be missing anything story wise.
Yeah,
you'd be missing a good time though. I'm not upset about this.
Yeah. Now the question obviously is we don't have many episodes left. Like, what can they do in the last like two? What is this? This is 21. Yeah, so they still have like probably 4 episodes left.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do in that
25.
time?
That's a good question.
Because it seems like
because they're not going to go into a full arc about getting back the fingers.
No.
We're not going to see them fight the curses again.
Now, they did specifically mention that along with the fingers they stole, they also stole some like special grade curse or something.
Yeah, cursed body, cursed dolls.
So something like that. Another cursed fetus or something, cursed baby.
Yeah, cursed womb.
Yeah, cursed womb. Yeah, which is something like along the same lines. We saw like a cursed womb thing, obviously, when Itadori died the first time.
Yeah, so
that could be something that it has to do with. Maybe they let that loose for a certain reason. I don't 100% know. I don't think they had a next time on or anything like that. So we don't really know what we're getting into for these last like 4 episodes or so, but I guess either way, I'm pretty excited to see.
Yeah,
show's been nothing but good so far, so I think whatever they finish off with will be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm hoping they don't go just for a full like filler arc and do like another 4 episodes of nothing. But
I can't imagine they would. I don't know. It could just be them training again while doing some side jobs. It could be finally we see them actually going to school. Like what do they do at school?
Like we don't know what. Yeah, like is this a trade school or is this like an actual education center? Or
we haven't seen them doing anything there. So
like, I guess this is a lot like Hero Academia, where it's like they never actually study anything. We just get to see like the physical training elements.
At least we see in My Hero, we actually see them in class all the time.
Yeah, but are they ever actually doing anything? We see them in class when they're announcing a field trip. We see them in class when they're announcing that they're going to do training or name picking.
To be fair, we haven't seen these guys in class even one time.
I know, but
so we have questions what they're going to do. I don't know. Either way, we don't know what's going to happen, but I'm sure it's going to be good. I don't think it's going to be just 4 episodes of filler. If it is, it'll be like a little mini filler arc that has something to do with the overlying story. Like I said, maybe they release the special grade curse they stole, and it's kind of like something mini.
I don't even know if I'd consider that filler though, because that's something actually major happening.
Yeah.
Because if you let a major grade curse go, like unless it's in somewhere that you can very easily contain the truth, that's going to be a mess.
Maybe we see more of the school in general, like the third class or like that, like the third years. Maybe we finally see them pop in. Something along that line. Something just to set up more for the second season to get people obviously really hyped because it is a shonen. You need to get everyone super excited with some sort of cliffhanger. Yeah, and either way, I'm excited. Yeah, so that was pretty much it. Obviously, kind of a filler episode, but even still, took a little time to talk about it. So yeah, if you have any thoughts, opinions, theories on Jujutsu Kaisen, let us know down below. Next up, second last on our list, Mushoku Tensei, episode number 9.
A chance encounter.
So obviously last week we had Turning Point 1, which by the end of it was, you could say, a turning point. I'm actually surprised. I thought this episode was going to be a lot darker than it was. But it was kind of like a fun little like adventure episode.
Yeah, it was a new area to play in, and it was more of a world building episode than anything.
Yeah, so basically after the last episode, there's obviously the big explosion. This one starts off in like a place I didn't think it was going to. He's in his old body.
Yeah.
He's talking to this character who reminded me a lot of like the God thing from the hell was that show called?
I know what you're thinking of. Oh my God, what was it?
Fuck, it wasn't even that long ago. It was last season.
I know.
I'm Standing on a Million Lives.
That's it. I knew it had some stupid ass.
Very much like the same God character as that. Obviously, I recognize that voice actor so bad too. But I can't think of exactly who it is. But yeah, he's just kind of like talking, he's trying to tell him something. He's, Rudy's just kind of being kind of a dick because he's like, I'm dead. He's like, so he's kind of like panicking a little bit.
He goes through a few different phases. Like he starts off like, oh crap, I died again. Then was like, oh wait, everything was just a dream and it was screwing with me and things like that. It's like, wow.
Yeah, and then the basically the God person's just like, oh, I just want to like, I need to tell you this, and he's like, no, like you're not telling me anything. I'm not going back. I'm not doing this, and all that. And then eventually, then he's like, okay, fine. Like since after he realizes that he's not dead, he's like, okay, you can tell me. And he's like, You know, when you wake up, he's like, you know, you'll find a guy there. He's like, and trust in that guy. And that's basically
trust him and help him.
Yeah, trust him and help him. And Rudy's like, okay, yeah, sure. Rudy wakes up. He's by a campfire and he's like, it's kind of strange. And then obviously he sees a guy there. And after seeing him, he then immediately panics because he's got the green hair. He's got the red jewel.
Yeah.
He's the Superb or whatever the hell they're called. Which once again, I find it strange that the person who warned him about this is Roxy. Obviously, as we get into this episode, more. But earlier on, Roxy warned him that, you know, if you ever see someone like with that hair color, with that like thing, to run, basically.
Yeah, beware of them.
Yeah, beware of them.
Now, to be fair, I'm pretty sure she left her town before this guy showed up.
I don't know.
Because they established that he saved someone like 10 years before, which is when I'm assuming he got invited into the village, because I don't think they would have let him in before then.
Maybe. But even so, I feel like these people, this guy's been around for like 400 years and probably trying to do good and helping in this area at least.
But if there's only one of them going around trying to do good, because we don't know about any of the other ones.
Yeah, I'm assuming many are dead or many are in hiding or prosecuted or something along those lines kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, maybe them are still under the control.
Yeah.
Don't 100% know.
I'm sure a lot of them are still corrupted and using cursed weapons, so...
But yeah, immediately after meeting this guy, Rudy just kind of I think he realizes remembers what the super god being told him about trusting this person. Not to mention, you know, he's just trying to be like a slightly better person. So he kind of goes in like, even though he's a little scared at first, being like, "Oh, nice to meet you," and then the guy kind of like, "Oh," he's like, "Oh, you're different."
Yeah, I mean, there's the obvious logic of like you're sitting around a campfire with a dude. Technically, like obviously he wasn't planning to kill you, or else he could have just killed you while you were unconscious. Yeah, it's not like he's like, I always like them to be like awake when I kill them. Yes.
Yeah, and then the guy's like, oh, that's like he's like you're a different one kind of thing, and then you see Eris wake up, and her reaction is much more what he expected from Rudy as well, like crying, hiding in the sleeping bag, like begging.
Which was kind of interesting to see from Eris. Like you don't expect that from her.
Yeah, I mean, I think Eris has grown a lot even just in this episode. We see her be a bitch every now and then to him, which is kind of like funny.
Yeah, but even that, it's not like mean-spirited or like a bad thing. It's very much just her not knowing she's being a bitch.
Yeah, like even when you see her interact with like the town people later in like the little town and stuff like that, she's not like the bitch that she used to be anyways.
She's just like an obnoxious kid.
Yeah, she's still obviously a little confrontational in like a sense, but not as bad as she used to be for sure.
Oh god, no.
But yeah, so after, she kind of gets over his fear, they kind of have a talk with him, and he's like, I'll like help you guys out. He's like, I'll get you back to your human world and your human realm, or the fuck it is, just
the human continent.
Yeah, we don't know how far it is exactly. It could just be the next continent over. Or
well, they established that they're on the northeast corner of the demon continent, which I'm pretty sure the demon continent is to the northeast of the central continent. So they're a full continent away.
Yeah, so either way, it's a long trek, and he's like, I'll help you guys out. He obviously mentions that, like, children shouldn't be doing this. He has some sort of thing going on with children for sure.
Yeah, I think we know what that is.
Yeah, but later in the episode, we obviously know what that is. But then they decide to go as they're kind of traveling. Rudy mentions that, like, Eris is becoming like better friends with him. It's kind of funny now.
Yeah.
Obviously Rudy's, learning of the demon language is now very helpful.
Oh god.
Even though I'm pretty sure this guy must be speaking English, right?
No, like every time he uses it, they're all like, oh yeah, they respond to it. Then they immediately switch to human. It's like, oh.
Yeah, because originally he was using that language, but then it shows that he's talking to Eris a lot. So then I'm like, okay, he must be speaking in human now. But yeah, so they go to a little, establishment, a town or whatever like that. It's filled with a bunch of people with like blue hair. And then, the town guard won't let them in until they summon the elder. The elder comes in and, kind of just, like, oh, hey, what's going on? Like some humans there. Yeah. Then Rudy like talks in like the demon god, and then he responds in human. He's like, oh fuck. He's like, I'm so glad I learned demon language. And then the guy immediately responds in human. He's just like, oh.
Yeah. I guess it's like almost like D&D, where it's like common is just like everywhere, and that's just like the human language technically.
Yeah. So and obviously some of the important parts with this village, you learn very, very quickly, is that the guy mentions that his daughter is Roxy.
Yep.
So I think originally he sees like the necklace on Rudy. He's like, oh, where'd you get that? He's like, oh, I got that from like my master, like Roxy. And the guy's like, did you say Roxy? He's like, that's my daughter. Then you learn that Roxy left like 20 years ago to go out and do some shit in the world.
Never writes, never talks.
Never writes, never does anything.
They also established that they have telepathy.
They live, what did she say? How long is their lifespan? Like 400 or something?
Yeah, 400 years, give or take.
Yeah, the mom's like 100 years old or something like that. Yeah, he's like, oh, that's still young.
She's like 102 and Roxy's like 40 something.
I mean, if you look at it like that, okay, here we go, boys. It's time to get a quick conversation.
Oh, God.
It means that Rudy is allowed to go for Roxy. Boom.
That was your big point?
Okay, how old is Roxy?
She's 40.
Exactly. Rudy was what, like 28 in his previous life or something? how old was he? Like 30 something?
He would have been like approaching 30, I think.
Yeah, not to mention the 10 years he's aged here. That means Rudy's 40. They're the appropriate age. It's allowed to happen.
I
got
want to note, I don't think anyone was complaining about him trying to go after older women. It was when he was going after the 8-year-old that got creepy.
I know, but now finally we found a character that he's not only allowed to go after, but it's like a perfect fit.
I mean, he's been going after her the whole time anyways.
But before he's kind of like thinking she's young and stuff like that. Now he's finally like, oh, this is perfect. You know? Exactly his age.
I guess, yeah. Like, this is the 1,000-year-old dragon argument.
The stars aligned and everything worked out for him finally. But yeah, obviously in this, like we see like him walking through town, just like loving everything. He's like Roxy right there. There's a Roxy there.
He's like, it's a town full of Roxys, and he sees the mom. It's like, oh, damn.
So he's having a good time. You know, they mentioned that they have a longer lifespan. You know, Roxy left 20 years ago, and then they're like, oh, is she okay? And he's like, oh yeah, she's just in this kingdom doing some stuff like that, all that kind of shit. Yeah, and then we kind of get into the they're at night, they're around the fire. Eris is falling asleep, and then we kind of learn the backstory of the Superb race. You know, obviously why people think they're evil, and it all comes down to that dickbag hero that we've all heard about, and we've seen in the last episode. Yeah. When they were doing this war, he offered to give the Superb race these like cool spears. He's like, "Yo, check out these spears, though." And then, what the hell's the guy's name?
Lapis.
No, like the main Superb guy we have now. It's like Regal or something.
Oh my, Rugal.
It's something along those lines. Either way, he says that like their spears, like the warriors that are like connected to their spears, and some of them didn't want to give them up for new ones, but eventually they just decided like they'd do it for like the power kind of thing because they were like really dope spears.
Yeah.
And then as they were fighting this war, they slowly started to change. Eventually, they were killing like their own like family.
Yeah, they started killing everyone they saw, and it just progressed until they started killing their own family, including their wives, their parents, and their children.
Yeah, and then obviously that gave them a pretty bad name.
Yeah.
So yeah, since then people have not liked the race. They're like, oh, they'll kill anyone kind of thing. Parents use them as like scary bedtime stories. It's like Eris confirms in this, saying that like if she wasn't sleeping, her mom said that like a Superb would come in and eat her. And yeah, so this guy says that he was like the leader of like the warriors there, and then now he wants like he's out trying to like
rectify their name.
Yeah, he's trying to like resolve them like their crimes. It wasn't actually their fault. It was this Laplace, the cool hero that everybody loves, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, Rudy kind of, as he's talking about this, Rudy kind of sees himself in this. He has a lot of regrets from his last life that he's trying to fix in this one. And he's like, I'll help you. And then he's like, maybe coming from like a human child, a human boy, like it'll probably help a little bit. And the guy's just like, oh, like, thanks, They kind of bond a little bit there. And then he mentions that, because earlier they say that he can't go through any of the cities because everybody's like scared of him and stuff like that. Yeah. And Rudy's like, he'll help us get through the wilds and like we'll help him get through the cities. It'll be like a little partnership kind of thing.
Yeah, like I feel like you could just slap on a headband and be okay. But
yeah, I guess it would. People would probably be still pretty sus though with the whole like hair. Like even we saw like early like Rudy kind of. Yeah, I guess like Rudy kind of freaked out when he saw what's her name, Sylphiette's like hair originally, and then looked to the crystals like, oh no crystal. So if you saw the hair and freaked out, then you look for the head and there's like a headband on. You're like, I don't trust that.
Little sus, yeah.
Yeah, maybe some hair dye, cover it with dirt or something. I don't know. A hat.
I'm sure Rudy could whip up a hair dye spell.
A full turban, like just get like some bandages and wrap it, go like the Piccolo look. I don't know. Either way. But yeah, so that's a lot of information about that character. We've learned about the Superb race now not being that bad. But yeah, one of the questions was like, Roxy came from this village. This village is friends with him. We don't know for how long, so that could be the question. Well, but Roxy's obviously the one who told Rudy early on to, stay away from those people. So we can maybe assume that it's only been the last 20 years he stopped by and they've become friends with him.
I'm willing to bet it's when he saved the other child that they were talking about, which was only 10 years prior. Mm-hmm. Like that seems like a pretty good intro to get yourself introduced into a city when you're normally not allowed.
That's true. So yeah, maybe she just doesn't know kind of thing. So that could be one. Maybe they'll explain that in the future. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just leave that up for you to kind of guess and assume. But yeah, it seems like that's mainly where we're going now. So it's going to be them trying to get back to the human continent. Helping each other out. And then obviously Rudy's going to try and do his best to, in the future, at some point, clear the Superb name and answer all that. There's still a lot of things from last episode, like, what is this explosion? Is the rest of the continent when they get back going to be fine? Is there going to be something big going on? Like,
yeah, because they referred to it as a large-scale mana disaster.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, like obviously they were really close and they got teleported to somewhere else randomly. Yeah, but like what happens to everyone else there? Was there also like... we still have to see Guy who had dragon issues there. There's a lot of these other characters, little demon lord girl, malnutrition demon lord girl.
Yeah. Like, we don't know what happened to Ghislaine either.
No, we don't. Like, we could have assumed maybe she was also just teleported, but since she wasn't as close as... They were directly touching each other, so that's probably why they went to the same place. Maybe she went somewhere else. I'm sure she at least has the skills to get back on her own.
Like, I mean, we know she'll survive at the very least. We don't know if
We know she has tactics to live. She'll eat poop if she has to. But yeah, there's still a lot of questions as to what happens when they get back to the.
Yeah.
But when people mention like this is the big turning point, this is like the end of like the juvenile arc kind of thing.
Yeah, we're probably going to see him grow up in this territory.
Yeah, it made me think that it was going to be a lot darker when we get into this episode. But this episode was relatively like light and fun, like a nice little adventure they're starting. Even like Eris is like, yeah, it's time for an adventure, you know? Like,
yeah, I mean, ending the juvenile arc doesn't necessarily mean things get dark and gritty. It just means it's not as like comfortable as it was for him prior. He has to grow up a little bit. So
yeah, I mean, he's already pretty grown up for his age, anyways.
I mean, yeah, but even so, like even by his old life standards, he wasn't very grown up. So,
but when we talked about the show early on, our guesses would have been, you know, even when they first found out that he's leaving to get a job, he gets the job for a few years, comes back in the 5 years, he ends up going to like the Magic Academy where he's got his harem of girls, stuff like that. You know,
yeah, that's not happening.
That's the typical shit you'd expect. But obviously, the show's not doing exactly what you'd expect. It's taking a little bit way around. We don't even know if he's going to end up going to like a Magic Academy or if this is going to be such a long thing that it takes to get back. And when he does get back, if like the human content has changed a lot since then, like maybe shit got real there. Maybe it's like a fucking war scene by the time he gets back.
I mean, for all we know, the Magic Academy is just gone.
Maybe like Sylphia had to grow up fast in this like war torn area and she becomes like a fucking warlord when he gets back. Who knows? I mean, I guess you'd know if you read the source material, but who knows for us, you know?
I mean,
we have no idea.
If Sophia becomes a warlord, that's something I would never have guessed.
Exactly. You know, who knows? Is Paul having sex with both the mom and the maid? To be answered, hopefully, because I'm still curious.
Oh God.
But yeah, either a good episode. It was quite the turning point. But you know, I'm excited for this fun little adventure with them traveling around. Obviously, the Superherd guy seems like a cool character, cool guy.
Yeah.
Not to mention, we're going to see Eris grow up more. She's obviously even just seeing her like this episode compared to like 3 episodes ago when she's introduced. Even though she's still kind of a bitch sometimes, she at least seems to know when to stop. You know, like her thanking like the townsfolk and stuff like that. Like she's already grown up a lot, so having to live this like, you know, life on the road kind of situation where, you know, you have to kind of avoid some cities and maybe go and have people like looking at you bad and stuff like that. Mixed with, you know, lack of like lush lifestyle that she's always lived, right? She's always had pretty much everything she wanted. Now they're gonna have to fight for their food and all that kind of crap.
I mean, yeah, because they established like this place doesn't have a lot of food. It's packed with monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't have any type of money or connections that she used to have.
I think what Rudy was given by the parents,
it looks like money,
was
but
some
I
sort
don't-
of currency.
I don't think it was a lot.
Probably not. I'm assuming in the next episode we're going to see a lot of them trying to enter like cities and having issues with the Superherd guy, even though Rudy's trying to help him, but obviously it's not going to be so easy just to be like, no, trust me, I'm a human, he's a good guy. So that's
Especially
probably
on a demon continent. It's probably going to be like, okay, you being a human here is kind of weird.
Yeah, so that's probably already going to be like an issue in the next episode. I hope we get a little bit of a time skip in the next one, even if it's just like a month or something since they've been traveling.
Yeah.
Just something small to kind of like, you know, show pass the time so they become better friends, show them they've grown. It's Mushoku Tensei, so they've done a lot of time skips and they've done them pretty well so far.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we get. But either way, I guess we'll have to wait till next week to see. Still one of the anime I look forward to most probably in the week. This and like Quintessential Quintuplets, as I mentioned, are just like really, really enjoyable ones for me. It's not that I dislike any of the other ones. I like them all a lot. But, you know, if I like have to wait like, you know, a day or something to watch like ReZero or like 2 days to watch it, you know, I'm not like sad. But like it's like a Thursday. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, it's Quintessential Quintuplets night. You know, that kind of thing. And I've never missed. Now, okay, to be fair, I was about to say I've never not watched Mushoku on Sunday. But we also record the podcast on Sunday.
You don't have a lot of choice in the matter.
It'd be hard to, but yeah, I think I've never actually not watched a Quintessential episode on Thursday when it came out. So that says something, you know? I've literally waited every single week till Sunday to watch the Promised Neverland episode. So I don't know what that says, but...
I mean, I can honestly say there's a few shows I'm keeping up on better than Promised Neverland, so...
Yeah. Either way, it was a really good episode of Mushoku Tensei. If you have any thoughts, opinions, let us know down below. And we'll be talking about it next week, and we're gonna probably find out if it's 13 or if it's gonna continue on.
Yeah, we should double check that for next week.
We'll double check that before we come next week, just so we can let people know, and then we kind of know what to expect of how many episodes are left, because that's kind of a big deal. Okay, last up on the list, as always, Attack on Titan, episode number 72.
Children of the Forest.
So the title confused me originally, but obviously I think it's probably like maybe 10 minutes in that we kind of see the title. Now this episode, shit got real. As we expected. We talked about this last week.
Like, we knew it was coming, but it escalated very, very quickly.
It escalated quickly, and it was more than what we thought. So we obviously knew that this week we were finally going to get to see the whole, like, Gabi and Falco and with Sasha's family, this whole drama situation in a place, with a guy who clearly had feelings for Sasha and is going to end up knowing who she is.
Yeah.
Little did we also know that the scouts were going to be there at the same time.
Yeah, like we knew the scouts were riding there. We weren't sure if the time frame was the same, but we knew that they were going to be there.
Yeah, so it became a shit show real fast. And like there's still obviously from like 3 episodes ago or whatever, we had that question about the wine. And every single episode when it wasn't shown, we're like, okay, the fuck, like what? There's no way that they just showed that scene with the wine. And then this episode, we get some answers to that.
Yep. Starts with Niccolo just outright like, no, you don't get to have this wine. We're like,
yeah, now we see a very small amount of this too. We see a little bit with Levi and Zeke talking. It starts off the episode with the explanation of like Connie's village and what happened. It's like, I think Zeke did explain this to them about the village. Basically, he said that, you know, when he feeds his spinal fluids to Eldians, they get like paralyzed.
yeah.
And then after that, he can use like his cool shout and turn them into Titans. Now, obviously, later on, we learned that technically parts of that story are a lie, but it's a lie with a lot of purpose.
Yeah, because I mean, even when we first saw him use his ability, we saw them dropping people who were not paralyzed out of a plane.
Yeah, now to be fair, they might as well have been because I'm pretty sure they were in like straitjackets or something.
I mean, yeah.
So maybe that's also kind of hard to say if you were a viewer.
True.
But yeah, so obviously then we get to the drama, you know, the meat of the story, which is the whole Sasha, dead, family, Gabi, Falco, scouts, like just all in one place, all at one time. So, you know, so it starts with, Jean and them. They come in, they want to grab that bottle of wine. It's only for the higher ups. Looks so tasty.
Yeah.
And then fucking Niccolo freaks out a little bit, takes the wine from them, and then starts being like, "You're just fucking dirty Eldians," you know? And he's like, they're like, "Dude, what the fuck? Like, I thought we were past this. I thought we were cool now."
Yeah.
And he's like, they're like, "Oh, you're just a stupid fucking captured Marleyan." He's like, Eldian scum. And you're like, what the hell's going on here? And we obviously know there's something sus with the wine.
Oh, yeah.
So we're like, oh, Niccolo's just trying to protect them, but he's doing it in a really, really weird way.
I mean, he couldn't just come out and say, like, by the way.
Well, even it is established later that Niccolo is not 100% sure, but
Yeah.
he's kind of put some puzzle pieces together because they know the past of Zeke and what's happened previously. But yeah, and then obviously we get, what's their last name? Sasha's last name? It's like Bruce.
Oh, my I want to say Brutus, but I know that's wrong.
It's something along those lines. And, you know, they make it to the restaurant at Niccolo's request. And when they get there, they're like, oh, you know, we have to go talk to Niccolo. He's like an ex-Marleyan kind of guy in there. He'll be able to help you guys. So at the earliest possible time, Gabi and Falco, they see him going downstairs alone when he's holding his cool wine bottle. Yeah. And they go down to approach him. And once again,
goes about as well as you would expect.
Once again, Falco is the smarter of the two in almost every situation we've seen. So Gabi starts going off about how they like escaped here, and then Niccolo starts to put 2 and 2 together. He's like, "Did you kill anyone on the way?" And then right there, Falco, it shows that he has some sort of he sees something going on, right?
Like that moment of like, that is not a proper reaction. Oh,
yeah,
no.
he sees something and he's like tries to stop Gabi from talking. He's like, "No, Gabi, like stop." And Gabi's like, "Oh yeah, like I killed this chick there, and you know all this kind of stuff." And then Niccolo takes his cool wine bottle and goes for a swing right at Gabi's face. And of course, Falco, you know, being kind of a simp, he kind of just steps in the way, takes the bottle.
Yeah.
And then we even get to see a little scene of a wine drop dripping into his mouth, which is also suspect as hell.
Yeah, like the moment you said, it's like, oh yeah, there was definitely something up with the wine.
Yeah, and then Niccolo starts to freak out, being like, "Oh, you killed her," kind of stuff. And then he drags them upstairs. He's got a little knife. He throws.
Man, that was not a little knife.
He throws Gabi on the floor and explains to everyone there, it's all Sasha's family, that Gabi was the one who killed Sasha. And he's like, he's like, "Hey, like, you know, Sasha's dad, do you want to come kill her? If you don't, I will." And he looked very serious about it too.
Oh yeah, I'm honestly surprised he held it together long enough to bring them upstairs instead of just beating Gabi to death.
Yeah, and then this is right in time for all the scouts to get, the scouts all come in too, and they're like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, these are the ones, they escaped," kind of thing.
I mean, my favorite part was it was just Armin just like walked in, it's like, "What the hell's going on?"
Yeah, and I mean, Armin also, they were there when Sasha died, so they know who did it, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's a lot of drama going on at one time. The Niccolo is pretty fucking pissed. Obviously, he had some feelings for Sasha more than just wanting to feed her his food.
She was kind of his, like, all he had left at this point, and Gabi took it from him.
Yeah, so he hands the knife over to Sasha's dad, and then Sasha's dad goes on a little speech, which is what gives her our title. It's saying basically that, like, when Sasha was young, she spent too much time in the forest, became like a hunter, and that kind of changed her, right? Like that's what made like her life. Yeah. She became the type of person who was able to go out and kill people and stuff like that. And that's now, she went out, killed people, and then she got killed. And he kind of like accepts that. He's like, that was like our mistake for letting her go out too long. Basically, it's more about like, them letting their children become soldiers and stuff like that by then them dying in like a war. He doesn't necessarily blame like Gabi for it. And then Niccolo kind of comes around a little bit. He's not going to go and stab her or anything like that. And, everything's getting a little bit resolved. Gabi's like, you guys don't all hate me kind of thing. And then fucking the little girl, Sasha's sister technically,
the one that's Sasha saved.
Yeah, she grabs the knife, runs, and tries to go stab her right in the throat, take Gabi out. She still hates her, but Mikasa, who's right there, just easily stops her.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of drama there, and then kind of Mikasa and Armin take Gabi away, and then you get the reveal where Niccolo's like, "Oh, by the way, you should really wash out Falco's mouth. He got some wine in there." And they're like, "What do you mean?" And then we get the reveal where he basically explains that he believes that the wine has Zeke's spinal fluid in it.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, how do you know this?" He's like, "Well, I don't know this." He's like, "But like,
the first ship was packed with it."
He's like, "Yeah, once I got this job, they came to me and they wanted this wine to be fed to all like the higher ups kind of thing." And then he's like, and like the main reason is because he knows about Zeke, right? Back in like they once took over a country in like a day by basically feeding everybody Zeke's spinal fluid, making them all explode into Titans, and they basically just destroyed that country in a single day.
Yeah.
So they know this from Zeke's past, so they definitely know it can be done again. So yeah, it shows like they're washing, Falco's mouth out like multiple times just in case, which is very nice of them,
Oh yeah, I mean having a Titan bomb next to you is not a good thing. So
it's true. So they're starting to put all these pieces together with Yelena and Eren and Zeke, and how long this has been planned and what's going on and that kind of stuff. We're starting to see why they were given these jobs, but to me, this so far seems only like one job that would really be affected. So they mentioned that they're giving all these Marleyans different jobs everywhere. I wonder if some are like packing companies for the wine. One's a fucking winery, they're a vineyard.
Well, I mean, so someone would have to be putting the wine into the bottle, and Niccolo didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So like, there's probably somebody out there with a big ass syringe doing this. So
yeah, and then obviously that's already dramatic enough. And then while this is all going on, we get a couple other people show up. Yeah. So it actually starts with the funnier reveal, which is just Armin and Mikasa sitting at a table with Gabi, and then Eren's just like, "Hey guys," and you're just like,
that was the most nonchalant entrance they could have done from.
And then they just like look over and they're all just like, "Wait, what?" And then it goes over, and then you show like Flock is in there with Hans and all. Then they all have him at gunpoint, basically saying, "Hans, we're taking you with us. You know where Zeke is. We're gonna go see Zeke." Is basically what he's saying. Yeah. The funniest parts of them when they show into Eren talking to Armin and Mikasa, he's basically like, "Hey, I have something I'd like to ask you guys," kind of thing. And then you just see fucking Gabi's face, which is just obviously it's hilarious because Gabi plus Eren, not a great combo.
Yeah, she was out there specifically trying to get to him. So
yeah, he's kind of like her enemy number one, which is like the whole point. But yeah, and then kind of there's a little bit of information between like Flock and Hans and stuff like that, explaining that I think one of the guys who we saw earlier like deal with the wine before is obviously he's one of the other guys who told the whole Jaegerists that they were here and to come get them and stuff like that. And then Hans explains to Flock, being like, "Oh, like you don't get it. Like Zeke has been putting his spinal fluid in the wine. This has all been like set up." And then Flock's like, "Oh yeah, but like who even cares if all those the higher ups get it?" And she's like, "I never said anything about higher ups." Then he just like turns around with evil face.
Yeah, it was specifically the MPs.
Yeah, and then he mentions that she's like, "I never said anything about exclusively MPs," and he just like turns around with his fucking evil face.
I know that was
it was hilarious.
I know it's the Attack on Titan style to just really abuse like the line shading. But like that face almost just made me laugh. It
was pretty fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so obviously revealing that he knows about this plan as well, to some extent anyways. Maybe he didn't know about it when it started, but it was revealed to him at some point.
They definitely filled him in.
Yeah, so. He's just down for it now. And then we I think the end just kind of goes to, throughout the episode a couple times we see Levi being told about like the Jaegerists, we assume, and stuff like that. Levi's getting pissed. He mentions all the different times he's like saved Eren because he was like the hope for humanity, and now this is all some sort of sick joke. And that's pretty much where the episode leaves off. Now, we talked about this earlier, but I still don't believe that Eren's as bad as people think. A lot of people in the comments when I say this, they're like, "Yeah, Eren's the protagonist still because he's the main character, but he's no longer like a good guy.
Yeah,
he's like a bad guy now." I'm like, okay, that's possible, but like I still like think this is like a Zero from like a Code Geass situation where maybe he has to take on this like form of like the evil person to get like the for the greater good. He probably knows it's going to lead to his death, right? One way or the other, Eren's dying. It's a fact. He knows he only has like 4 years left. So what he's trying to do is like many other people, like even like Norman from like Promised Neverland earlier, he probably has to do some pretty evil shit to get what he thinks needs to be done for his friends, for the future of his people done in
Yeah.
that time. So, I mean, it really just depends on how you look at evil. Obviously, they all do pretty bad things. This is war we're talking about. But if he I think he's still going in with, like, we saw how upset he was still from, like, Sash's death. And, like, if
Yeah.
one of his other friends, like Connie, Jean, or any of them died, he would obviously still be pretty upset. Because I think the whole point is he is sacrificing his own, like, humanity, basically, to make a better world for those people, which also makes sense as to why he didn't want any of them to have his Titan or anything, right? So,
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, yes, is he a good guy because, you know, he's killing all these people and innocents and all that kind of stuff? No, but I mean, he's willing to sacrifice all of himself to save his friends. So, you know, take what you will from that. Good guy in that sense, at least.
He's leaning more towards the neutral side of the scale as opposed to like being a proper good or evil character.
Yeah, he's just doing what he has to do. Obviously, he has some sort of hints as to what happens in the future, possibly based off of what we've seen before.
Like, for all we know, he's just playing out what he already knows happens.
Yeah. Now, one other big question before the end of this episode. There's only 3 episodes left as far as I know, and there's still a lot that has to happen. Are we getting a movie after?
I don't know, because the odds of them being able to successfully wrap everything up in 3 episodes doesn't seem very likely.
It doesn't. We still have they still have to solve the Jaegerist issue. We have, the invasion that has already technically begun by seeing Peak in there before.
Yeah.
Not to mention with even if like this whole invasion in Paradise Island, you know, whatever the outcome is, there's still the entire country of Marley on the other side. Who, even if this invasion fails, they've only lost like a few people, you know? So it's like, yeah, sure, they would have lost some of their Titans, but there's still that entire country there and the rest of the world hates the Eldians. How do you solve all this in 3 episodes?
The rumbling is going to be the big answer there. But
I guess the entire plan is that if they can use the rumbling properly, it's just going to scare all the other countries off from wanting to fuck with them.
Yeah.
I suppose. But like even that I don't think is technically true because the whole point is that like Titans are going out, right? They're slowly going out. So even the rumbling at some point would become less of a threat by the fact that they'll have weaponry that's able to easily kill Titans. And
yeah, like we don't know if there's anything specific about that Titan that makes it harder to do.
yeah, I don't know. Because even then, you'd have to do the rumbling, you'd first have to make a bunch of Titans first. So you're sacrificing your own people to make Titans and then fight. You're still losing people.
Well, the rumbling is the idea of using the Titans that are inside the wall.
I guess, but what happens when you run out of those Titans?
You're screwed.
Not only now have you run out of the Titans in there, you also have lost walls. So if people do attack you, you've lost one sense of safety. It's just basically, it seems like it would be really, really hard for them to solve all this within 3 episodes. And when we look at like the success recently of like the Demon Slayer movie, which is like one of the most popular, like biggest movies to come out of Japan, like making money, and then considering that Attack on Titan has an even bigger like worldwide appeal than that, and how much money they theoretically could make by making the finale of their show into a movie. It's hard to say that they wouldn't be looking at that and think about how much money they're going to make.
I mean, that is possible. Like, this is established to be the final season, not the final arc.
Yeah, because even like Demon Slayer, right? Like, obviously I haven't seen the movie because it hasn't officially come out here or anything yet. But like, it still technically leads off the show. Like, the end of the season 1 is like a cliffhanger for that.
It's literally just an arc from the show put into a movie.
Yeah, so like it makes you feel like you have to see it to continue Demon Slayer 2. So
you kind of do.
Like second season. And like, what would be, and that you think that's important, but imagine the ending of Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
I think people have been waiting like, how many years since season 1 came out now?
It's
like 8 years, 9 years, something like that.
Yeah, because I think we were still in high school when it.
Yeah, so a long time. People would have to see this movie. So like the amount of money they stand to make off this could be insane. Now we don't know if that's like for sure going to happen.
Yeah, because the problem is to do that, they're going to have to leave off without a proper resolution in the show.
Yeah.
Do you think people are going to be okay with that?
I mean, no, but I feel like what they literally have to end the last episode being with like movie coming like this time.
I know, but I still feel like I'd be pissed off about that.
Probably, but I mean, like, even if you're pissed off, you would see it.
I mean,
the thing is, it's like anything. It's like how like Nintendo gets away with so much Nintendo shit. It's because even though you're mad at them, you still end up buying all their games. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
People would be like, I hate this Attack on Titan, but boy, am I still going to pay for that ticket. You know, like this is a movie they could literally release in like Western theaters. And like they would still be fucking popping, right? Like it would just be insane. Yeah. So we're going to have to find out soon because I don't think they can wrap this up in 3 episodes. I don't think they're going to give an OVA because technically that wouldn't even really work. And they can't make the even more final season to a final season. So
yeah, because they opted specifically for the 16 episodes, right?
Yeah.
You think we're going to Game of Thrones this and just have them completely screw up?
I don't think so. I want to believe no, just as a fan, but I think that my guess would obviously just be going towards a movie. It would be a movie, then that they finish it in the last 3 episodes, then bad ending, and then some OVA and second final season. So
Yeah.
That's my order of guesses. But either way, if you have any thoughts, opinions, if you've heard any secret rumors about movies or anything like that, let us know down below. Let us know which you'd like to see. If you just want them to completely end the show in the next 3 episodes, or if you would like to see an extra movie and get that extra 2 hours of content, let us know down below.
Yeah.
I think other than that, it's all done for all the anime this week.
Yeah, that was everything.
Yeah, so we've mentioned it before, just as the outro here. If there's anything in the upcoming spring anime, let us know down below. We tried looking at like a list today, but we still need to do a little bit more research.
Yeah, it's still very incomplete and a lot of like theoreticals and
Yeah, so if there's a show you know is coming out this spring, you're like positive and you like it either from the source material, if you just heard good things about it, let us know down below, and then we kind of know what shows to like to Google and to start checking out and stuff like that to start making our list, because we're only about like a month away now.
yeah, let us know what you think our seasonal isekai for next season is going to be.
Yeah, it seems like there's going to be a few isekais. It actually looked like a decent like slice of life season 2 from what I saw. A lot of like new slice of life I haven't even heard of.
Yeah, not a lot of sequels coming out next season.
No, I think obviously the big sequels obviously is we have My Hero Academia season 5.
Yeah.
Big one. Stuff like Megalobox season 2. Didn't realize we were going to get.
Yeah, we just saw that before we came in here.
I think like the Dragon Maid has a season 2 coming out as well.
I don't think it's Dragon Maid. I think it's a different dragon anime.
Okay. I thought I saw something about that the other day.
It might be getting a second season. It might just not have been on the list I saw.
Obviously, the remake to Shaman King. It's not a second season, but it's obviously a pretty big remake for a lot of people. They're excited.
How Not to Summon a Demon Lord's getting another season.
Fuck. Am I ever watching that every single night?
I'll have to actually finish the first season.
I finished it.
I got to one part where I just kind of went, nope. It was like 3 a.m. It's like I can't finish this episode.
I don't think you'd really be missing out on anything if you didn't finish it.
I know, but
I think you'd still go into season 2 with as much knowledge.
If I don't have my proper context, I get mad with shows like that. So
that's fair. But yeah, there's just a lot of shows coming out, a lot of new shows too. Like this season was a lot of like big second, third, fourth seasons. So we already knew what the show was about going in. But these ones are a lot of new shows, so we don't know what they are. And since we don't read a lot of source material, if you have opinions on something that you like, a new series coming out that you've read the source material on, and you're like, hey, this is really good, you guys should give us those hints before we go in to know what's really going to be good.
Yeah, a few tips, a few
that way there's a higher chance that we don't have to like drop things midway through from just being terrible because we had no idea if they were ever supposed to be good.
Yeah, like I'm hoping it's a good season because it's coming off of a really strong anime season.
I think it could be a good season. It might not be as big, but I think that some of the things will definitely like lift it up. So I mean, obviously a lot of like I was about to say normie scumbags are going to be excited about the My Hero season. I'm also going to watch it. It's My Hero's a good show. I've heard mixed opinions about like the first arc in this new season, and then really good things about like the second arc.
Because the first arc is going to be the interclass competition, right?
Yes.
So that's going to be really down to how much you like Class B.
Yeah, it just feels very much like it seems like a weird time for another tournament arc after all the stuff that's going on. Then obviously, but then I've heard the arc after that is like really big.
Yeah, the arc after that's where things really kind of just pick up and go, oh.
Yeah, so that's probably one of the shows we'll be talking about since we're both decent fans of My Hero Academia.
Oh yeah.
But there's a lot of open spots as far as I'm concerned right now for like the next season. We have a lot more open spots than we had for this one, where we knew we'd be talking about like Attack on Titan, ReZero, like Promised Neverland, like a lot of these shows, like a couple of the new ones that we weren't expecting, like Kumodesu and Mushoku Tensei and stuff like that.
Yeah, like Kumodesu is definitely going to carry over into the next season.
And Kumodesu was one of the ones that that won the vote when we took the vote to begin with.
Like that was just an absolute crushing vote.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing though. So if there's a show that's coming out that you've been reading the light novels for years or something like that, and you're like, this is fantastic, just let us know, and that way we know ahead of time to add onto the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think other than that, guys, I think we're all done today, unless you have any closing thoughts.
No, I think that's everything.
Okay, so like always, guys, if you could like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of standard shit, helps the algorithm, helps us get to that 1K subs that we're going after.
Yeah, we appreciate every single thing we see and every bit of interaction. So
yeah, as I mentioned before, going into a new anime season for us is a little bit scary because, if 90% of our viewership is only here for... thank God Kumodesu is continuing. But, if 90% of our viewership is only here for, Attack on Titan, and then that ends, we're going to be going down a lot in views and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So, trying to get people here for whatever anime we watch, trying to, if you're not thinking about watching anything from next season, and then you see our list and maybe you're like, hey, I'll start this show so I can, be here each week when Cam and Jimmy talk about it. That's basically what we're going for. That's what we're aiming for.
We would really appreciate it.
So yeah, if there's a show that you're like, hey, I will not watch these guys ever again unless they talk about this show, let us know down below, and then you can be there to vote for it. But other than that, guys, once again, I've been Cam.
I've been Jimmy.
Take it easy, guys. We'll see you next week for more fun anime. Peace.
Peace.